I opened a travel agency in the world of cultivation. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226. App. Then we can only pray that Yang Zhao is more cautious and doesn't make a move today. Otherwise we will suffer a loss in silence. Seeing that everyone present had an irritable expression, Yang Zhao was really surprised this time. It turned out that Yao Guangshu's mission this time was not only to investigate the enemy situation and understand the environment, but also to cause trouble for other prefecture schools. Originally, Yao Guangshu was a tall and handsome man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. In Yang Zhao's mind, he had always been a very upright person. Unexpectedly, upright people nowadays cannot be judged by appearance, even in the world of cultivation. It's too late. Lin Sheng stared at the messenger magic weapon with a gloomy tone, and Liu Xiao next to him slapped his thigh. What should we do now? Yao Guangshu said that they will go back now and put that thing away. It's low outside at night, and there are few people moving around. I guess we won't run into it. Lin Sheng patted the messenger magic weapon in annoyance. Okay, forget about him. It's getting late now. Let's all go back and rest. We still have things to do when we wake up. Yes. Everyone stood up, said goodbye to each other, and went back to their rooms. Yang Zhao checked the room once, then took out her mobile phone, which had long been out of power, and charged it. Last night, she spent a whole night proving that Zhao Mengshu can also recharge the solar power bank, which is good news for her. After turning on her phone, she edited today's video, especially the scene of the little beam people working in the planting area of the garrison point. Then she took the Dao card from her neck and stuck it on the back of the phone and posted the edited video on the internet platform. During the waiting time, she roughly flipped through the comments of the previous video and found that the response to the one about taking a spaceship to Luoyuan was very good, and the comment area was as lively as ever. I just like this kind of big spaceship. When you look at it from the perspective below, it really gives you a soul-stirring feeling. I'm the only one who's wondering, why is the sky so dark? Shy reply to the person upstairs. It should be because the atmosphere is thin, or there is no atmosphere. The sky is so dark. The obvious example is the moon. And did you see those people jumping when they walked? I guess the gravity of this place is not strong enough to hold the atmosphere. My favorite place they went to was the place where they sold things. There was such a big animal head on the first floor. Is this the legendary dinosaur? Dinosaurs don't look like this, okay? If you don't know what dinosaurs look like, you can search it online. Upstairs, the dinosaur photos we see now are all drawn by scientists, based on their imagination. If you give them a whalebone, they will draw a dinosaur for you. So maybe that big head is really a dinosaur. Why is this world becoming more and more magical? I don't have so many little thoughts. I just want to take that boat and fly. Is the little bean man on the boat a fan of the blogger? Such a magical experience. Why don't you tell it about it? Vertical bar. I found it. Seeing their tight-lipped attitude, I'm sure that the cultivation of immortals must be true. Otherwise why are they so tight-lipped? If it is a scam, those people would have rebelled long ago. Who says it's true if they don't talk? Maybe they were deceived by the blogger to go to northern Myanmar to make fraudulent calls. Don't people use their brains when surfing the internet now? Just post a few special effects videos and say they can cultivate immortals. Yes, this blogger has never said openly that she can cultivate immortals. I have looked through all the videos and she has not made a clear statement on this matter, so don't believe in rumors and don't spread them. Is it because of policy reasons that the blogger can't openly? Oh, that's the guy. I'm willing to pay a large sum to buy the cultivation technique. At YUNYANGGUAN Yang Zhao, can you check the private chat? You can name your price. Oh, a rich man appears in the comment section. Asterisk, salute, don't transfer money to strangers. Please download the anti-fraud app. Yang Zhao looked at the comment section and thought that, after returning from this competition, she could standardize the movements of Keeling and make a detailed video to post online. She can now establish a foundation among these fans, and she estimates that she will receive more incense by then. After thinking about this, she started to contact Guo Fumin Qiang again, and described the heart-eating beast she saw today in detail. Guo Fumin Qiang, wait a minute, I'll find a professional to draw this thing for you. Yang Zhao waited for about half an hour, and then there was a message from Guo Fumin Qiang. Guo Fumin Qiang, picture point PDF. Guo Fumin Qiang, if you find anything wrong, you can tell me directly. My people will modify it at any time. Yang Zhao opened the picture and saw that it was a computer-drawn imaginary picture of the heart-eating beast's tentacles, based on her description. Although many details did not match what she saw today, the drawing was very similar. Yang Zhao, who is this? So amazing. He can draw it, based on a few words I said. Guo Fumin Qiang, the result of the cooperation between the painters of the criminal investigation team and the marine zoologists. Yang Zhao, don't the painters of the criminal investigation team draw people? Guo Fumin Qiang, this kind of painter is the easiest to find. They draw well and consciously abide by the confidentiality regulations. Other non-institutional painters have to explain, which is too troublesome. Yang Zhao corrected some details again. Guo Fumin Qiang drew a total of 5 versions for her before finally determining its form. Guo Fumin Qiang, we plan to collect all the images of these strange beasts, and then develop an app to put all these things in it for easy reference at any time. Yang Zhao, that's a good idea. Then you can put all the magic tools, spiritual plants, spells, geographical maps and other things you have come into contact with on an app. It will definitely be very convenient to use it when the time comes. Guo Fumin Qiang, we think so too. We will give you the highest authority and you can use it at will. Yang Zhao, okay, thank you very much. Guo Fumin Qiang, why are you thanking me? This is what you deserve. You can give this app a name. Yang Zhao, me. Guo Fumin Qiang, this name should be given by you, and you are in the first place as a developer. Yang Zhao, okay, then let's call it Daily Guide to the Cultivation World. Guo Fumin Qiang, okay, the name is very appropriate, let's call it this. Chapter 227, Choking While Eating, more than 100 points. Yang Zhao was looking forward to the upcoming app. After all, it would save her a lot of energy. Putting her first in the app development was also a disguised way for the country to support her. Once the app was released to the public, anyone who used it would have to remember her. The two of them finished chatting, and Yang Zhao put the messenger on the bedside table to charge, then went to sleep under the quilt. This time, she had a rare nightmare in her sleep. She dreamed of a monster the size of a small building. The monster looked strange, and looked very casual in Yang Zhao's dream. It roared and slapped the ground, as if it wanted to slap her into the ground in an instant. Yang Zhao didn't feel any fear in her heart. Facing this tall monster, she held the dragon spear, and fought it hard to tell. Later, Yang Zhao could vaguely sense that she was dreaming, and she soon understood where her advantage was. Her dream, she is the biggest. Yang Zhao summoned the world-destroying thunderbolt directly in her dream, electrocuting the random-looking monster until it was burnt on the outside and tender on the inside. White smoke came out of its body, and there was even a faint smell of barbecue. It smelled very fragrant. If the thunderbolt in the sky was not still continuing, she really wanted to rush up and take a bite. Yang Zhao woke up hungry. When she woke up, she recalled her dream and couldn't help swallowing her saliva. The figure of the monster had gradually faded in her memory as she woke up, but the fragrance was still teasing her taste buds. People are still a little stupid in dreams, and their brains don't take it in. Since she wanted to eat so much at that time, what's wrong with taking a bite under the thunderbolt? Anyway, she was dreaming. With unspeakable regret, Yang Zhao packed up her things and left the house and started to head to the cafeteria. Now it was pitch black outside, and the severe cold enveloped the number 3 mining site. The summoning techniques in various places in the mining site were all lit up, and the cafeteria was even more crowded, so lively. Among the people in the cafeteria, people could easily tell which ones were students from the prefectural school. They usually eat separately and rarely exchange pleasantries. Yang Zhao got a big bowl of food and found a corner to eat. With the faint fragrance in her dream, the food tasted even better. Not long after she sat down, Liu Shao also sat next to her with a bowl of food. Why didn't Brother Lin come? You're the only one here. They all took the Kigan pills. I don't like that. I didn't expect Brother Yang to be the same as me. Liu Shao put the bowl in place and started talking. I came here this time to apologize to you. Yesterday I was outspoken and said a lot of excessive words in front of you. You saw that I was fooled by the heart-eating beast. Please forgive me this time. Yang Zhao also had some guesses about this matter. After all, the heart-eating beast was following her, and Liu Shao was the closest to her, and was the first to be affected. This is all the fault of the heart-eating beast. It has nothing to do with you, and it's over. You don't have to worry about it. Thank you, Yang Zhaoist, for your forgiveness. Liu Shao had a smile on his face. He was a man who couldn't stop talking, even when he was eating. Do you know why senior brother Lin always had a bad expression during the party yesterday? Yang Zhao was a little confused. Isn't it because of Yao Guangshu's matter? Where? Liu Shao looked around and leaned close to Yang Zhao and lowered his voice. I contacted my fellow brothers at the garrison when I returned to my room at night, and then I learned some information. Yesterday, a small group of enemies went to hang around our garrison. There were a total of 8 foundation building stage people, which was exactly the organization of a squad of the enemy. So yesterday senior brother Lin asked me to find out the attitude of the officials of this competition towards the enemy attack. Yang Zhao was also a little surprised by the news. Then isn't a garrison very dangerous now? It is said that it was senior sister Lin who set up surveillance instruments within 5 miles of our garrison during the day, and only then discovered that there was a small group of enemies wandering around us. Otherwise who would be so meticulous? He said this with a boastful look on his face. But I'm not worried about the safety of our garrison. Senior sister Lin has a high level of cultivation, and relying on the garrison for defense, even if there are 10 more foundation building cultivators, it will be useless. Yang Zhao was sure that the reason why this person ran to the cafeteria to eat was to find her to show off Lin Sishang. After all, everyone else in Yang Zhao Prefecture School can use the messenger instrument to contact the garrison. Only Yang Zhao is alone. She has no acquaintances or friends here, and she will be much behind the news of the garrison. Only such a large information gap can make Liu Shao show off. Fellow Daoist Lin is indeed careful. Liu Shao was a little dissatisfied with Yang Zhao's reaction. It's just being careful. It's planning, and foresight. This person couldn't stop praising Lin Sishang. Yang Zhao stuffed food into her mouth desperately despite the endless praise. The originally delicious food was contaminated by Liu Shao, and the food went down her spine. Before she finished her meal, the order to assemble came from the messenger. She quickly stuffed all the food into her stomach, threw it into the rice bowl with a cleaning spell, stood up and walked out. Lin Sheng still didn't eat much, but he didn't want to waste food, so he used a water bowl to stuff the food in. Fortunately, the food he got was not much. Yang Zhao and Liu Shao were not the only ones who left in a hurry. The other students in the prefecture school were basically the same. They gathered in a small square this time. Captain Han stood in front of the square. Students from Yang Zhao Prefecture School, Chan Zhao Prefecture School, Yang Zhao Prefecture School, Zhao Prefecture School and Yang Zhao Prefecture School had already begun to line up consciously. Seeing this, Yang Zhao found the team of Yang Zhao Academy and joined them. The first person standing in this team was Lin Sheng. When everyone was almost there, Captain Han waved his hand and asked the soldiers behind him to bring out a huge wooden board with a base under it and put it on the ground steadily. There was a map hanging on the board. A closer look would show that this map was of the number 3 mining site. Now that everyone is here and quiet, I will introduce the next task to you. Captain Han pointed to the map and said, "This is the map of the number 3 mining site. We have divided it into 5 parts. When the time comes, the leaders of each of your prefecture schools can come to me and draw lots to choose the area you are responsible for. You must not only carefully check the formations outside the garrison point, but also check the formations of all the buildings in the area you are responsible for. Because these formations are interconnected, you may not find any problems by just checking one place. Do you understand everything?" "Yes." Captain Han looked at the energetic students in front of him and nodded with satisfaction. Next, you can come up and draw lots. Chapter 228, Encountering an Acquaintance. The leaders of the 5 prefectural schools went to the front to draw lots, and Yang Zhao Prefectural School drew the 4th number. Okay, everyone has drawn lots. I will use the messenger magic weapon to send the details to your leaders later. I hope you can complete this competition well. After the tasks were assigned, Captain Han assigned 2 soldiers to each prefectural school to familiarize themselves with the environment, and then he left with his men. As soon as he left, the whole playground became noisy. Liu Xiao warmly received the 2 soldiers, and Lin Sheng distributed detailed maps to all the students of Yang Zhao Prefectural School. When Yang Zhao lowered her head to study the map, she suddenly heard a hesitant voice in front of her. Is it brother Yang Zhao in front? Yang Zhao was startled and suddenly raised her head to take a closer look. She saw a tall and graceful young man standing in front of her. When she raised her head, the young man smiled. Brother Yang, I didn't expect to really meet you. Yang Zhao's eyes lit up and bowed his head. Fellow Daoist Zhang, did you come by yourself? Where's brother Bao? The one who came was Zhang Yan. In the past, he was followed by a big black panther. It was Yang Zhao's lifelong friend. It's too cold outside. Lei Ting is hiding in the dormitory. Zhang Yan smiled and replied, I didn't know that fellow Daoist Yang was from Yang Zhao Prefecture School. I didn't expect that we would meet again in the competition. I'm also lucky to meet you. I don't know which dormitory you live in. After today's matter is over, I will definitely visit you. Yang Zhao smiled sincerely. Last time I said that I would bring some gifts to brother Bao when we meet again. I didn't expect to meet him so soon. I don't know if he likes my gifts. I'm on the 2nd floor of the dormitory of Chanzhou Prefecture School. Just shout downstairs. The 2 sides exchanged a few polite words and said goodbye. The main reason was that they had tasks to complete today and didn't have that much time to reminisce. As soon as Zhang Yan left, Lin Sheng next to him asked, your friend? An old acquaintance. He didn't ask in detail, but clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. When we get to the destination, we will be divided into 2 teams according to our specialties. One team will be led by me to inspect and repair the formation, and the other team will be led by Junior Sister Wu to check the camels in the mine. Don't follow the wrong people. He looked around and said, everyone should know what to do. I don't need to say more. Let's go now. Seeing these students from Yang Zhao Prefecture School automatically divided into teams, Yang Zhao was confused. No, why didn't they need to say more? Who should she follow? Fellow Daoist Lin, what about me? Lin Sheng glanced at her and thought for a while. You followed Junior Sister Wu. Junior Sister Wu smiled and waved. Fellow Daoist Yang, come here quickly. If you have any questions, when you get there, you can always find me. Just like that, Yang Zhao followed Junior Sister Wu. Then everyone followed the soldiers who were familiar with the environment to the mission site, and the playground returned to its previous desertedness. Behind the residential area of the number 3 mining site is a small basin with a large stone of more than 10 meters erected in the basin. Yang Zhao and his team followed the soldiers down the mountain and came to the basin. According to the 2 soldiers, this stone is actually a meteorite from outer space. It is unknown how many years ago that it fell from outer space and hit this place, creating such a deep pit. The entire number 3 mining site is surrounded by an extremely huge deep pit. There are 4 artificially mined deep pits in the area where Yang Zhao Prefecture School was selected. There are huge mining machines on the pits. These things rumble like giant steel beasts. Teams of camels are busy transporting ore with white breath, and the whole basin is a busy scene. These camels are more than 3 meters tall and 7 or 8 meters long. They are strong, with thick limbs, 3 big horns on their heads, and thick grey-white fur all over their bodies. At first glance, this thing looks a bit like a yak, but it is much larger than a yak. When they arrived at the place, Lin Sheng said hello, and left with a dozen people following a soldier. Yang Zhao followed Sister Wu, and walked into a mountain on the edge of the basin. There are more students in the key training stage in their team. This mountain has a gate that is 5 or 6 meters high and more than 20 meters wide, and there is a smaller gate next to it that is shorter. The soldier led them in through the small gate. Behind the gate was a corridor that was more than 20 meters wide. After walking a few meters, they could see that the corridor was divided into two roads, one above and one below. The soldier led the way while introducing the situation here to Wu Shimi. The camels have been living in the two upper floors for the past few months. There should be 40 or 50 of them that have not gone to work. Your task is to check their physical condition and treat them. After walking a few steps upward, they saw camels eating grass and playing leisurely on this floor. This floor was bright everywhere, with rich vegetation and green grass. The camels here were old and young, and it was hard to tell whether they were male or female. They were not afraid of strangers and continued to do their own things leisurely. Yang Zhao initially thought that these camels would be locked in the fence, but he did not expect it to be such a scene. The soldier led people to greet the administrator here. These are students from Yang Zhao Prefecture School who are in charge of the camels in the number 4 planting plot. The administrator greeted them with a smile. I have heard a lot about you. I never thought that my camels would be examined and treated by the students from the prefecture school one day. It is really their great fortune. I guess they will have to eat more grass from now on. These students were a little embarrassed by the praise. Junior Sister Wu stepped forward to talk to him. Senior, you are joking. I wonder if you have any instructions for our mission this time. The man smiled and pointed at the little camels running happily. The camel beasts are mainly inspected for injuries, the degree of tooth grinding and mental state. The corresponding treatment will be carried out according to the problems you found. These camel beasts are gentle and not afraid of people. As long as you are gentle when checking, these camel beasts will not cause you trouble. But there are 23 camel beast cubs here. These cubs are not very old, have lively personalities, are curious, and are generally strong. You should be careful when facing these little guys. Don't be careless and get hit by them. There is nothing to pay attention to for the others. Thank you for your advice, senior. The students of Yang Zhao Prefecture School sincerely thanked the administrator of this floor and then began to move towards the camel beasts closest to them. Sister Wu simply ordered, let's take out all the detection instruments, find 1 or 2 camel beasts to get familiar with, and then check them separately. Others took out a yellow stick of more than 20 centimeters from their pockets. The stick was the same thickness at the top and bottom, and it looked like it should be made of wood. The camel Hos was already an adult and was lying there eating grass leisurely. Chapter 229, Seeing the Leopard. I didn't expect that this camel inspection would be such a troublesome thing. Yang Zhao was a little out of breath. She tried to control the little camel in her arms so that the 4 students in the key training stage could inspect it. Although these little camel beasts were not yet adults, they were not small in size. Some were more than 1 meter tall and some were 2 or 3 meters tall. These little camel beasts were not a little lively. They were very lively and extremely curious. When they saw strangers like Yang Zhao, they would approach cautiously. No matter what Yang Zhao and his friends did, these little guys would stretch their necks and look at them. Gradually, they found that these people did not drive them away, so they became bolder. Then, they deliberately ran and jumped around them, and some of them even deliberately bumped into people's arms. At the beginning, a young man in the key training stage suffered a loss. A little camel beast swung around him, and then he was knocked away without paying attention. Fortunately, he was a cultivator, but he was stunned at the time, but his body was not injured. If it were a mortal, he would definitely break his bones. But this incident also scared the other students, and everyone looked at these little camel beasts with vigilance. Yang Zhao's task was to lead 4 key training monks to check these little camel beasts. These little guys often would not wait quietly for the inspection, and her role was to use brute force to restrict the movements of these little guys so that others could check with peace of mind. In order to take care of the psychological problems of the camel beasts, they could not use spells such as immobilization when checking. In the words of the administrator, there are not even birds in this place. The camel beasts are suffering from staying in Luoyuan every day. In order to protect their emotional state, the entire Luoyuan prohibits the use of restrictive spells on camel beasts during normal times. So Yang Zhao would hold the smaller camel beasts, and if they were over 1.6 or 1.7 meters tall, she would climb on their backs. She herself was 1.68 meters tall, which was considered to be above average in the north. But these little things were too strong. It was okay for 1 or 2, but if there were more, she would have to rest for a while. When she went back to eat after work, Yang Zhao felt weak and sore, and she was too lazy to talk. She wanted to find Brother Leopard after dinner, but she didn't feel like it. After eating, they took a nap for more than 4 hours, and then they went to deal with the little guys again. Because Liu Yuan rotates slowly, they have a long nap during the day. That is, they will sleep twice a day, longer at night and shorter during the day. Of course, the cultivators in the foundation building period are energetic, so they don't have to sleep. The same process is in the afternoon. The camel beast cubs are fine, but the adult camel beasts have some problems to a greater or lesser extent. For example, because of long-term heavy labor, their knee joints are seriously worn out. For example, they have parasite problems. Because the planting land is for breeding vegetation, there are many kinds of insects, and there are always a few kinds that suck blood. But the most serious is the psychological problem of these camel beasts. The students of the Beast Control Department of Yang Zhao Prefecture all know 1 or 2 simple healing spells that can solve physical health problems. When they encounter mentally unhealthy people, their solution is to use illusions, to build a world that camels like and relieve the pressure caused by the environment. Yang Zhao also learned 1 or 2 healing techniques. After all, she is a cultivator in the foundation building stage, so she learns very quickly. She was not very proficient in the morning, but she could perform it very neatly in the afternoon. Illusions involve too many things, and she has not learned them yet. After work in the afternoon, Yang Zhao finished her meal tiredly, returned to the dormitory, took a pill, and used the 3 pure ones and true Yang meridians. She endured the burning pain of the meridians and cleared away the fatigue on her body. Then she performed the cleaning technique all over her body, replaced her mobile phone with a power bank, and then she changed into a decent set of clothes, checked the gift she brought for Brother Leopard, and went out. The accommodation of Chanzhou Prefecture School is not too far from Yangzhou Prefecture School, and it is found in a few steps. Yang Zhao stood downstairs and caught a student and asked softly where Zhang Yan lived. The man looked at her with a little scrutiny, but did not embarrass her. He called Zhang Yan in the messenger instrument. Afterwards, Zhang Yan came downstairs to meet her. The two of them exchanged greetings and went up to the 2nd floor. As soon as Zhang Yan opened the door, Yang Zhao saw the huge black panther lying in the room. The black panther was huge, with shiny fur, and looked extremely brave. Brother Leopard, do you still recognize me? You seem to have grown a little bit older. The Brother Leopard in the room looked a little annoyed, and when he turned his head and saw Yang Zhao, he was obviously refreshed. Raw. You still recognize me? I was afraid you had forgotten me. Yang Zhao approached familiarly and tried to reach out his hand to touch it, but the big leopard dodged by turning sideways. Raw. What? Brother Leopard, you are not an adult yet. Yang Zhao looked back at Zhang Yan behind him with some surprise. Zhang Yan nodded affirmatively. Zuan Sheng is indeed not yet an adult. If he were an adult, he would be a few points bigger than he is now. I really don't know how you can communicate with it. It's so smooth. We just spent a few days together a few months ago, and it just came naturally. But why is Brother Bao so listless? Zhang Yan asked Yang Zhao to sit down, and Yang Zhao sat cross-legged in front of the big leopard. Luan is too cold, and it doesn't like to go out, since it came here. The reason why it is listless is because it is suffocated in the house. That's really hard for you, Brother Bao. Raw. The big leopard fluttered its ears, lay down and put its head on its front paws. I promised to bring you a gift last time. See if it can relieve your boredom. Yang Zhao began to take out things from the Kyankan bag in her arms. She took out a large cloth bag and several foam boxes. She opened the cloth bag and grabbed a handful of yellow-green dried plants from it. Brother Leopard, take a look at this. Do you like it? The big leopard put its head closer to her hand, sniffed it gently, and looked up at Yang Zhao with some doubt. Huh. This is called catnip. The leopards in our hometown like it very much. You can try it. If you can't eat it, you can spit it out. This big sack of catnip was bought by Yang Zhao's brother Yang Yun a few months ago. Because they wanted a lot, the merchant asked them to wait for a few days. It has been kept in her kayankan bag for several months, but this thing is in the shape of hay and is easy to preserve. The big black leopard stretched out his tongue to roll up some catnip, chewed it tentatively, paused for a while and swallowed it. Can it be eaten? Yang Zhao asked tentatively. After all, this thing is a plant from another world, and she was afraid that the big leopard from the cultivation world would have side effects after eating it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230, Land of the Clan Soul, 2nd. The big leopard stretched out its tongue and swept away all the catnip in Yang Zhao's hand. The tongue had barbs on it and was not soft, but it still made her feel good. The empty and desolate reality of Luoyuan not only affected the camels, but also people. Seeing the big leopard eating happily, Yang Zhao moved the big sack of catnip to where the big leopard could reach. Then she happily opened the phone boxes. Some of them contained catnip wine, and some contained uninflated leather balls. Yang Zhao took these things out and inflated them with an air gun. This leather ball was made of leather and had a diameter of more than 40 centimeters. She had specially customized it from a merchant. I heard that all cats like ball-like things. The last phone box contained a half-meter tall felt doll in the shape of a black panther and Yang Zhao's own felt doll. Originally, she had also customized a felt doll of a big leopard taking her to escape from the meteorite, but unfortunately, Zhang Yan was in an awkward position in this doll, so she could only keep it for herself in the end. Zhang Yan squatted down and curiously flipped through the catnip, then took the toys and looked at them. The craftsmanship of this ball is good. It's hard to believe that you spent so much time on it. What's the big deal? I'm clumsy and can't make it. I just asked someone to make it for me. I'm just offering a gift to Buddha. Yang Zhao carefully stretched out his hand, wanting to touch the smooth fur, but was dodged by the big leopard again. What is Buddha? Zhang Yan opened the mint wine, smelled it, and asked casually. Yang Zhao said the idiom casually, but he didn't expect it to attract attention. A kind of god in our hometown. By the way, how is the fight for the clan soul land going? I don't know now. I advanced to the foundation building stage a few months ago, and now I'm here to participate in the competition. Zhang Yan took the glass bottle and tasted it carefully. Unexpectedly, his eyes lit up as soon as he drank a mouthful, and he took another big sip from the bottle. Yang Zhao specially asked someone to mix this catnip wine. One part was soaked with foreign liquors such as gin and tequila, and the other part was soaked with good white wine. The big leopard who was eating catnip next to him was not happy when he saw his behavior. Raw. With a tilt of his head, he took the bottle back from Zhang Yan's hand. Leiting, why are you so stingy? If you like this wine, I will bring you a few more bottles next time we meet. But you won't fight for the soul-chasing land, such an important thing. Zhang Yan grabbed the felt doll of the big black panther and played with it in his hand. People like us don't go there to fight for the clan soul land. We go there to train our spirits and lay a good foundation for the future path. It's just that the position of the god of that unknown small clan, how high can it be? Seeing this, it really makes people hate it. Maybe this is the confidence of the so-called aristocratic family. Yang Zhao looked at his indifferent look, and a light flashed in his head. Suddenly, something that was submerged in his mind emerged from the depths of his brain. Fellow Daoist Zhang, I have something I want to ask you. Please go ahead. Zhang Yan pulled the tail of the felt toy in boredom. I suddenly remembered that when you and I entered the soul land of that small clan, there was a big window in that soul land, but my soul land does not have that window. The weirdest thing is that, if I hadn't met you, I wouldn't have remembered it at all. Yang Zhao unconsciously wanted to knock her head. To be honest, since she first came to her own soul land, the question about the window had already come to her mind, but when she came out, she actually forgot it. Otherwise, she would have asked Shenryu about this matter a long time ago. Hahaha, fellow Daoist, you are a foreigner, it's normal to forget it. That's limited by the rules, which just don't allow you to ask. Looking at Yang Zhao's puzzled eyes, Zhang Yan simply crossed his legs and sat down. A normal clan soul land has no windows because it wants to hide itself to protect itself from the covetousness of other clans. The window you saw is actually for the clan soul land to save itself. When the history of a clan disappears, the clan soul land of this clan will open a window by itself in order to save itself. The fact that your clan soul land has no window means that your history and culture have not been cut off. Yang Zhao listened with a frown. Then where can others see that he opened the window? Zhang Yan picked up another bottle of catnip wine without caring, unscrewed it and smelled it. Each clan soul land has its own place in this universe, which can be far apart, but also close. Those who have ascended to become gods can find those open windows through their own clan soul land, and the rest can be fished with incense. The reason why you forgot is because the rules of that clan soul land are restricting you, making you forget that window. After all, it has been fished out by us. Yang Zhao was shocked. She only knew that incense was incomparable in helping her cultivation, but she didn't expect that incense could be so useful. However, this matter was too far away from her, so she could just remember it, but didn't need to delve into it. Thank you, Daoist Zhang, for clearing up my doubts. If it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't have remembered this matter for half my life. It's not a secret in the first place. It's taught in the basic courses of every prefecture school. The big leopard turned around and moved the whole box of catnip wine to the other side of his body, protecting it in his arms. He didn't care about the bottle in Zhang Yan's hand. Daoist Yang, the reason I'm telling you so much is because I have something to ask of you. Zhang Yan took out 2 wine glasses from somewhere, poured a glass, and handed it to Yang Zhao. I heard yesterday that Daoist Yang had killed a tentacle of the heart-devouring beast yesterday. Is it true? Yang Zhao took a taste of the wine glass, and it tasted quite spicy. She didn't like it very much. I didn't expect the news to spread so quickly afterwards. But Daoist Zhang, how did you know that person was me? You'll know if you ask around. This is not confidential information in the first place. Zhang Yan poured himself a glass of catnip wine. I have something I want to trouble you with, may I ask? Yang Zhao put the wine glass aside. What's wrong with that? I know myself well. If I can't do something, I will refuse it in person. I won't save face and suffer. Ha 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 ha, you are still so straightforward. This matter is easy and difficult. We want to borrow your eyes. Yang Zhao subconsciously dodged when she heard this. My eyes? Zhang Yan was amused by her action. Don't be afraid, Yang Zhao. I said I would borrow your eyes because we can't see that thing, but you can. I know that many catnip wines are made of catnip soaked in water, but the ones in my article are real wine soaked in catnip. Catnip is not poisonous to humans. Chapter 231, Sukhothay Pagoda. Yang Zhao nodded thoughtfully and asked, that's the same thing as the heart-devouring beast's tentacles, invisible to the naked eye. Zhang Yan felt around in his arms, took out a bag of fruit, and handed it to her. If you don't like alcohol, you can try this. The thing we are looking for is hidden in the void like the heart-devouring beast, and only exists when you can see it. If you can't see it, you won't be able to feel it, even if you two run into it head-on. Yang Zhao Prefecture School is lucky to have met fellow Daoist Yang, otherwise everyone in their team would have died on the way. Yang Zhao took the bag, took out a green fruit from it, bit a little of the skin and tasted it. I just happened to meet them by chance, but if you want to find something like that, shouldn't you have prepared in advance? Why did you think of looking for me? Yes, we originally bought some deep sea crystal worms, but when the time came, no one wanted to let these worms bite their eyes. As soon as we heard that someone had killed the tentacles of the heart-eating beast, we couldn't wait to inquire about it. Zhang Yan poured himself another glass of wine, with a bit of cunning in his voice. Hearing this, Yang Zhao took a breath of cold air and got goosebumps all over his body. Bitten on the eyes. It's normal not to want to. No one really let those worms bite their eyes, right? Zhang Yan took out a thumb-sized box from his arms and handed it to Yang Zhao. Yes, for example, the Xingxiao clan. The saints of their clan let these insects bite their eyes. These deep sea crystal worms rely on their eyes to survive and reproduce. From then on, they covered their eyes with gauze and would not open them unless they were needed. Yang Zhao took the small box, opened it, and found that there were densely packed transparent small beetles tumbling up and down inside. They were about 1 millimeter in size, and looked quite cute. But if this thing bites a person's eyes, she would feel a little sick just thinking about a dense layer of these things lying on a person's eyes. She quickly closed the box, and returned it with her hand. Will it eat up all the eyeballs? Zhang Yan took the box indifferently, and stuffed it into his arms again. No, this is a kind of mutual assistance and mutual benefit. These little things eat less, and the cultivator's own recovery ability is also strong enough. It's just that after this thing bites the eyes are a little afraid of light. Yang Zhao smacked the green fruit, and didn't notice anything unusual, so he ate it in small bites. So what is that thing you are looking for? We are looking for the entrance to the Sujin Pagoda. Yang Zhao suddenly raised his head, and asked in surprise, Sujin Pagoda, Sujin clan? Zhang Yan, yes, it is our enemy on Luoyuan, the Sujin clan, and this Sujin Pagoda is their unique thing. Yang Zhao had only seen the Sujin clan and the information about Luoyuan given by the teacher of Yang Zhao Prefecture School, but only mentioned a name, and other detailed information was not written. Perhaps the Sujin clan is a basic common sense that the students of the prefecture school have learned, and there is no need to introduce it in the information. Do we have to go deep into the enemy camp to find such a thing? Will it be dangerous? Zhang Yan was silent for a while, as if he was organizing his words. It's hard to say about this Sujin Pagoda. Although it is a unique item of the Sujin clan, it is not a real thing, and has no specific form. Although it will follow the Sujin clan, its nature determines that it will only exist in your world when you see it. We have received news that the Sujin Pagoda will follow the Sujin clan at any time. That thing is quite big, and should be quite conspicuous in your eyes. As for the danger, we have just arrived in Luoyuan, and don't know how dangerous it is, but you will definitely want to take the risk once I tell you about the efficacy of such a thing. Yang Zhao turned the green fruit in his hand half a circle. Please speak clearly, brother Zhang. Zhang Yan's face was full of smiles, and he looked determined to get it. The Sujin Pagoda can allow any soul that enters it to get a suitable weapon. A soul weapon that can grow with the growth of your soul. Yang Zhao was silent for a while. Does the soul still need a weapon? Anyone can get it when they go in. How can the Sujin clan be willing to do that? Zhang Yan's face was still smiling, and he did not show contempt for Yang Zhao's common sense question. They have to agree. The souls of the Sujin clan are naturally prone to mutation and splitting. What they like to do most is to cut off the mutated souls and throw them into the Sujin tower to fend for themselves. There are tens of thousands of Sujin clan members, and the mutated souls in the Sujin tower are naturally countless. This is a great burden for the Sujin tower, and these mutated souls in the Sujin tower have a shorter development time and more animal characteristics. In order to get out of the tower, they will become weapons and look for the right person. So the Sujin clan will not only not stop this, but also welcome people to go in. It's just that the situation in Luoyuan is more complicated. This is a battlefield. We are not sure that the Sujin clan will think that we have no hostility in the process of searching for the Sujin tower. Yang Zhao chewed the fruit silently and thought for a while. I'm now a student of Yang Zhao Prefecture School. I have accepted the reward from the teacher of Yang Zhao Prefecture School to help Yang Zhao Prefecture School achieve a better result in the competition. If this matter has an impact on the competition. Zhang Yan smiled and drank another glass of catnip wine. Don't worry, our main purpose of coming here is also for the competition. The matter of the Sujin Pagoda is just a side issue. You just need to observe the surroundings carefully during the mission. If you see anything, use the messenger to notify me. Is that thing really big? What does it look like? Yang Zhao asked again. Zhang Yan gave a positive answer. It's very big. Wherever there is a Sujin clan, there is a Sujin Pagoda, and there is only one Sujin Pagoda for the entire Sujin clan. In other words, when you see a Sujin clan member, you also see the Sujin Pagoda. When you find it, it is fixed in place by the act of finding it. It looks like a golden pagoda. The first time you see it, you know it is the Sujin Pagoda. This Sujin Pagoda sounds a bit weird. Yang Zhao gritted his teeth and said, okay, let's add the messenger to each other. If I find anything, I will tell you. The expression on Zhang Yan's face completely relaxed. Okay, then we will teach you how to enter the Sujin Pagoda, and how to choose your own soul weapon. The two added each other's information to the messenger, and the matter was completely settled. I found that the focus of my novels is not the story, but the introduction of the fantasy world of cultivation. Chapter 232, Military Intelligence. When Yang Zhao returned, the night was already dark. Without the obstruction of the atmosphere, the stars were unusually bright and dazzling. She went back with a lot on her mind. She saw a little puppet sitting against the wall at the door. It stood up alertly when Yang Zhao approached. Dao Yang, why don't you return the message instrument? Yang Zhao looked at the little thing, and a sense of surprise rose in her eyes, because the voice of the little puppet was Lin Sheng's. Wait a moment, I'll take a look. The little puppet stood there quietly waiting for her. Zhang Yan likes to teach others. As long as Yang Zhao showed a puzzled look and asked a few questions about something, he would definitely answer the questions and get more and more excited. Zhang Yan is like Liu Xiao to a certain extent. Both are chatterboxes. This led to Yang Zhao swimming in the ocean of knowledge for half a day, and she didn't pay much attention to the message instrument. Lin Sheng looked for her twice in the message instrument and asked her to find him in his room. When she came back, will you lead the way for me? Fellow Daoist Yang, please. The little puppet made a polite gesture, and finally, it walked in front of Yang Zhao with its short legs. She followed slowly from behind, her eyes glued to the little puppet, unable to move away. The little thing looked very delicate, and its movements did not have the sluggishness of a robot. The more she looked at it, the more she envied it. This kind of thing was Yang Yun's favorite. When he was a child, he was often beaten for dismantling his family's small radio, and it was Yang Zhao who helped him at that time. Their family has never been rich, and it is impossible for them to spend thousands of dollars to buy a robot to dismantle and play with. The little thing was led by Yang Zhao to Lin Sheng's door. It knocked on the door by itself, and then Lin Sheng's voice was heard from inside the door. The door is not locked, please come in. As soon as the little puppet opened the door, Yang Zhao saw that there were 6 foundation building cultivators sitting in the room, including Lin Sheng. These people were sitting around a large table. Not only was there the foundation building cultivator who followed Lin Sheng to inspect the formation today, but even Sister Wu was busy writing. The desk was filled with paper and pens, and abacus, messenger instruments, counting rods, etc. Yang Zhao took a quick look and saw that the papers were filled with various data and technical terms of formations. Several people were writing furiously and scratching their heads. Even through the door, one could feel their anxiety from being tortured by mathematics. Yang Zhao stepped into the room. I wonder what fellow Daoist Lin wants me to do. Lin Sheng didn't say hello and went straight to the point. You said yesterday that some of the little bean people in your hands are good at arithmetic. Is that true? Of course. Why do you want to hire some, fellow Daoist Lin? Lin Sheng's expression revealed a bit of anxiety. This mission is beyond our expectations. I want to hire 200 beans. They must be careful and good at arithmetic, and they must be able to endure hardships and follow orders. Yang Zhao agreed very readily. Okay, do you want it now, or do you want it tomorrow? Tomorrow. I'll give you some time to prepare. Yang Zhao asked again. How do you calculate the wages? Add 2 taels to the highest 10 taels of silver, a total of 12 taels, but you have to ensure that these people have good math skills. As soon as he finished speaking, he pulled out a piece of paper from the table and handed it to Yang Zhao, then buried his head again. Yang Zhao looked down and saw some questions on the paper. She took a closer look and found that most of them could be classified as high school mathematics, and a small number of them could be classified as university mathematics, and the requirements were not high. Seeing the situation in the room, she didn't want to disturb them anymore. She looked at the little puppet who had climbed onto the table to help them organize the papers, and then walked out of the room and closed the door from the outside. It was not until later, when they were eating in the cafeteria, that Yang Zhao gradually learned the reason for this matter from Liu Xiao. The protective formation here at the number 3 mining site is not only a super large formation, but also a chain formation. The super large formation means that it is distributed over a wide area, and the chain formation means that the formations and patterns in the middle are complex and changeable. This complex situation makes it difficult for them to determine and distinguish what kind of formations they are in charge of in a short time, and how many formations there are. The connection and operation of the formations are different. If one part is not checked clearly, it is possible to fix the faulty ones as faulty ones if they start to repair them rashly. If this happens, it will be a lot of fun. The most frustrating thing is that the number 3 mining site did not give them a detailed formation atlas. Everything depends on them to explore the land inch by inch. The entire basin is as big as a small city. 1/5 of the area is life-threatening. It is said that when Yang Zhao came back from Zhanyan, those key training students were still there. The reason why these foundation building monks came back early was to rush to classify and unify the formations in the range they visited today, split and calculate them, so as not to delay the next day's work. Moreover, there is another worrying situation. At the Yang Zhao Prefecture School Garrison, Lin Zishang gave a death order, asking them to complete the task as soon as possible, even if they had to use the Little Bean people. At the beginning, Lin Zishang and Yao Guangshu discussed that Lin Sheng would not use the Little Bean people. After all, using the Little Bean people as a plug-in under the nose of the number 3 mining point is likely to reduce their big score. But in the past 2 days, the enemy's traces have been found more than once outside the garrison. Especially today, the Sujin clan blatantly wandered to the cordon of the garrison. According to Lin Zishang's speculation, it should be that the tentacles of the heart-devouring beast were killed by Yang Zhao's thunder, and the Sujin clan wanted to make up for it. Faced with this situation, Lin Zishang could only urge Yao Guangshu and Lin Sheng to return to the Yangzhang Prefecture School garrison as soon as possible, while contacting the garrisons on the left and right to find backup. Otherwise, if the hometown was really destroyed, the loss of face of Yangzhou Prefecture School would be a small matter, but the lives of the people in the garrison would be a big matter. They were all students who had never seen the world. Lin Zishang had little chance of winning the fight between the two sides. That's why Wu Shimei, a beast control cultivator, was pressed on the table to calculate the formation. The military situation was really urgent and could not be delayed at all. If the other 2 foundation building cultivators did not really understand the way of formation, they would probably be pressed on the table as well. As for Yang Zhao, in addition to asking her to gather the Little Bean people, it was also to understand that she had made great efforts to control and subdue the little camel beast today, and she would continue tomorrow. It was at this moment that Yang Zhao felt like she was on the battlefield. Back in the house, she took out the Dao card and put it behind her mobile phone, opened the software, and started to contact Guo Fumin Qiang. 200 people are not a small number. If they were selected separately, they had to say hello in advance and arrange their original work. However, Yang Zhao did not have 200 Qianji beans in his small box about mathematics. Guo Fumin Qiang discussed for a while before applying her message. A rich and strong country and a strong people. Apart from mathematics, the rest will be supplemented by physics. We will do a good job of psychological work for them overnight to ensure that they abide by the rules and don't run around. Chapter 233, Necessities. Yang Zhao had been discussing the matter with Guo Fumin Qiang, and just when he was about to end the conversation, Guo Fumin Qiang received a message. Guo Fumin Qiang, do you have time to pick up the necessary items? We have prepared some protective items for you. The battlefield is dangerous, and it is good to have 1 or 2 more things to wear. Yang Zhao, okay, I'll wait. Yang Zhao put down his phone, took out a handful of copper coins from his arms, put the Taoist tablet on the copper coins, and calmly chanted the spell. The sky and the earth are boundless, and the universe is changing. The copper coins disappeared, and then there was a long wait. Taking advantage of the extra time, Yang Zhao began to edit today's video. But at the end, she found that there were too many useless videos today. Because her main task today was to suppress the camel beast cub, and it was all close range suppression, resulting in most of the videos she recorded today with the long animal hair of Shen Sishan's camel beast cub, or a dark scene. In the end, there were too few effective videos left, so Yang Zhao could only put this video aside temporarily and wait for 2 days when there would be more materials, so that it would not be called a useless video. Maybe it was because she was in Luoyang. These past 2 days, she particularly liked to read the comments section under her own videos to relieve her boredom. The previous video mainly introduced the garrison of Yang Zhao Prefecture School. Obviously, the comments section was shocked by the huge number of small bean people. Is this an ecological park? Are the ecological parks in the cultivation world so good? It is indeed a little too lush. The American ecological parks didn't last long before they were scrapped. The 2-story ecological park is underground, and it has to rely on artificial lighting. It doesn't look like an ecological park anymore. It looks a bit like greenhouse vegetables. On Earth, it's greenhouse vegetables, and on Mars, it's an ecological park. Asterisk asterisk. People. Asterisk asterisk. Can you speak based on facts? This is obviously a fake shoot. The American Mars Ecological Test Bench didn't make any profit in the end. How could a blogger, a small internet celebrity with hundreds of thousands of fans, have the funds to build this thing? This is either a real life shot or a full computer video special effect. I took the video to many school instructors for questioning, and most of the plants in it are beyond our knowledge. Even the World Plant List PAO finds it difficult to find the same species. I'm 19 years old, male, a student of grade 3. I'm very good at Beidou Engine, and I'm also actively researching Taoism. Today, I'm here. Please accept my greetings, Master Blogger. Why? Asterisk covering mouth and laughing. Please accept me. I'm really envious. I also want to go in like those little bean people. Blogger, my major is ecological botany. For work like weeding and shoveling the ground, you can come to me, please. Asterisk. Plus, is it easier than for me, an agricultural science student? Madam Blogger, I farm in school. Those little bean people are definitely not as professional as me. Look at me. What you said is, I'm still a professional farmer. My family has been poor for 8 generations since my ancestors. The farming history of our family is the farming history of the entire Chinese nation. It's definitely worth it for you to ask me to come. According to what you said, there are very few people in China who don't come from a farming family. We all have the blood of Yan and Huang in our bodies, and farming is in our genes. So as a blogger, I will go to the suburbs to learn how to farm tomorrow. Don't look down on me. There are so many little bean people. How many of you are the blogger's fans? Why don't you come out and make some noise? Aren't you afraid of getting hemorrhoids if you keep it in? I'm so upset. Backquote. Anyway, don't believe in rumors or spread them. I'm going to learn how to farm tomorrow. Hundreds of little bean people went there this time. Why wasn't it my turn? It must be because they look down on me for not having any experience in farming. My family has 8 acres of land, which I can rent out to you for a fee, to learn how to farm. If you are interested, please contact 274,629XXXX. Download the anti-fraud app, and don't transfer money to strangers. Less than 2 hours later, the Kayankan bag that Guofuming Yang had used to transport the goods appeared in front of Yang Zhao. She opened the bag, and found a large number of things scattered inside. There were bulletproof vests of various specifications, thin and thick, close-fitting and not close-fitting, metal armor, ceramic, composite, and more than a dozen pieces of various types that she knew and didn't know. In addition, there were relatively thin bulletproof pants, and she even saw a few sets of armor in it. The breastplates and backs were complete, and metal, leather, and chain were also available, all of which were specially customized to her body. Even more than a dozen pairs of shoes were prepared for her feet, and even for these dozen pairs of shoes, an instruction manual was specially written to introduce the functions of them. The rest were various medicines for treating external injuries, internal injuries, quick-acting hemostasis, anti-inflammatory and antipyretic, all available. Bandages, alcohol, saline, and sugar were all available. She even brought a whole bottle of Yun and Baiao pills, which looked like there were more than 200 pills. Yang Zhao looked at these things. Her eyes were a little hot. It was obvious that these things would take a long time to prepare, such as the armors that were made according to her body. She could not say anything else except a few more words of thanks on the phone. After putting down the phone to charge it, Yang Zhao counted the pills on her body, hardened her heart, and took out 2 and stuffed them into her mouth. Lu Yuan was in danger, and the environment forced her to fight for herself. Now the pills felt like 1 plus 1 was greater than 2. The burning meridians made her faint and wake up in pain. It took her more than an hour. When the pain was over, her whole body felt like it had been fished out of water. She forced herself to sit up and perform a cleansing spell, and then circulated the Sanyang Zhenqing meridian. This time she clearly felt the greed deep in her meridians. Her body devoured the spiritual energy and was never satisfied. The next day, they gathered at nightfall as usual. These days made people unable to tell the time. Even if they had enough sleep, they always felt sleepy. Besides, Yang Zhao didn't sleep for a long time last night. After all, they were all cultivators, full of energy, and in super healthy condition. Now Yang Zhao was not afraid of losing hair when staying up late. Obviously, she was not the only one who stayed up late. Most of the students in Yang Zhao Prefecture felt tired and energetic. She sorted out the 200 Qianji beans and handed them to Lin Sheng, who distributed these Qianji Dao to other Yang Zhao students and told them how to use them. Finally, they set off for the mission point. When they arrived at the place, Yang Zhao found that the mission progress of their group of Beastmasters had also accelerated. Chapter 234, Mission Accomplished. Facing the dark night, the students of Yang Zhao Prefecture School set out in advance. The group of people from the Beast Control side of Yang Zhao Prefecture School was divided into 2 parts. One part continued to stay in the planting field to check the camel beasts, and the other part went directly out of the planting field and guarded the stationed mine pit. They would check whichever camel beast was idle. If it weren't for the strong strength of the camel beasts, the little beam people couldn't get in, and Sister Wu said that she would hire hundreds of traction beams to use. When Yang Zhao Prefecture School inspected the formation, it used traction beams on a large scale, which naturally attracted the attention of other prefecture school students. After all, these tedious tasks were the same for everyone, and no one was better than anyone else. The 5 prefecture schools were all brothers in distress. The performance of the little bean people satisfied Lin Sheng and others. They were serious and rigorous when investigating the formation on the spot. They were clear and understandable when summarizing the data, and calculations were their forte. The addition of these 200 little bean people greatly accelerated the progress of the task and calmed the nervousness of the students of Yang Zhao Prefecture School. In the next few days, the students of Yang Zhao Prefecture School wished they could stay at the task site day and night. Even many Xiao Dao people were exhausted. According to Guo Fumin Qiang, they had been using computers to speed up the process in order to quickly sort out and calculate the data. This was like opening a plugin for Xiao Dao people. The group worked overtime and were almost crazy. Several foundation building stage people stayed up all night and finally completed all the tasks of the number 3 garrison point on the 4th day. After that, they did not dare to delay for a moment. Lin Sheng found Captain Han to hand over the task. Captain Han of the number 3 mining point had already seen their actions in the past few days. After the task was tested, he immediately let them out of the number 3 mining point. Your task score this time will be told to you through the messenger magic weapon after the competition. Please pay attention to it when the time comes. Lin Sheng thanked him politely. The students of Yang Zhao Prefecture School did not care about the hard work. A group of people ate and drank in the cafeteria, and the whole team began to march to the Yang Zhao Prefecture School's garrison point without stopping. The frequency of the Sujin clan appearing outside the Yang Zhao Prefecture School's garrison point became more and more frequent, which was quite blatant. This was undoubtedly to provoke Lin Sishang's tense nerves. Lin Sishang gave the final order to Yao Guangshu and Lin Sheng. If the 2 teams had not completed their tasks, they should rush back to the garrison in advance, even if they put the tasks aside first. I have contacted Zedujin's garrison, and they are willing to come to support. But if the battle really takes place at our garrison, the students of our Yang Zhao Prefecture School must account for the majority to control the direction of the battle, otherwise it will be too disadvantageous for us. If someone stays at a garrison in the name of fighting, and we are unable to drive them away, then the entire Yang Zhao Prefecture school will become a joke of this competition. After all, more than 2/3 of the foundation building cultivators of Yang Zhao Prefecture school were running around outside. Lin Sheng and Yao Guangshu knew the importance of the matter, so Yao Guangshu put the task aside first and returned early. Lin Sheng's foreign aide, who was shaking the traction beams wildly, rushed back against time. When they came back, Yang Zhao and his team followed the original formation. Lin Sheng led the team, Yang Zhao and Liu Xiao were the last, and there were foundation building cultivators in the sky to look after them. Before they set off, Lin Sheng solemnly gave Yang Zhao the task of guarding against the tentacles of the heart-eating beast. We have already suffered a loss once, and we cannot suffer a second time. I'll leave it to you, brother Yang, for the whole journey. Yang Zhao used the incense to forge his divine body whenever he had something to do, and scanned the surroundings of the entire team with his golden eyes. It was not known whether they returned suddenly or did not cause a Sujin clan to pay attention. In short, their return journey was quite peaceful, and no more moles appeared. Just like that, when they approached the garrison point, they saw Yao Guangshu waiting outside. He brought 6 foundation building cultivators and went out 20 miles from the freezing point to greet everyone, for fear that they would encounter spies from the Sujin clan when they returned. If the two sides engage in a battle, Yang Zhao and his fellow foundation establishment cultivators will be fine, as they can run away if they can't win, but for the key condensation cultivators in their team, it could be a disaster. When the two teams met, Lin Sheng was too lazy to greet Yao Guangshu. As soon as the teams met, the 16 foundation establishment cultivators surrounded the key condensation cultivators tightly. Yao Guangshu also came to the end of the team to support them, so Lin Sheng was still the leader. 20 miles passed in a flash, and they finally stepped into the Yang Zhao Prefecture school's garrison safely. Once they entered the door, the tense nerves of these young people finally relaxed. I don't know who started it first, but cheers slowly resounded throughout the whole of the garrison. When they quieted down, they all began to whisper to each other. We are finally back. I thought there would be some twists and turns on the way. Indeed, I was so nervous all the way here, afraid that the Sujin clan would block us. I guess the Sujin clan didn't expect us to return so soon, so they let us take advantage of the opportunity. I'm really exhausted. My small body in the key refining stage is still not strong enough. Who said it wasn't? I want to sleep now. Finally, we have won. At this time, Yao Guangshu coughed lightly, suppressing the restless voices in the whole hall. You have worked hard these days. I won't say much nonsense. Now those who want to eat can eat, and those who want to sleep can sleep. You must quickly restore your spirit and spiritual power to prevent accidents. As for what the accident is, everyone here knows. Disband now. The people gathered in the hall dispersed, and many people rushed to the cafeteria. Yang Zhao was one of them, but they were disappointed. The cafeteria at the Yang Zhao Prefecture school garrison only provided the bigu pills made by the students of Yang Zhao Prefecture school themselves. As for food, don't even think about it. Few of the students in Yang Zhao can cook, let alone cook big pot meals. Cooking big pot meals is also a skill. Although everyone received the bigu pill, they still complained a few words. I used to dislike the food at the number 3 mine site, but now I think I'm not grateful for what I have. You are lucky. You went to the number 3 mine site and ate a few days of food. These days, we have been eating bigu pills and bigu pills. I want to eat the grass in the planting field. I feel a little bit wronged when I think about it. If it weren't for the Sujin clan coming to make trouble, I could have eaten the food in their cafeteria at the number 3 garrison for a few more days. Yang Zhao was not full with 2 bigu pills now. She asked for 3 and stuffed them into her mouth to suppress the hunger in her stomach. In the end, she didn't go anywhere and went straight back to her house. There is only one chapter today, and the next chapter will be made up tomorrow. Chapter 235, Assignment of Tasks. Yang Zhao was awakened by the ringing of the messenger. She picked up the messenger and opened her eyes. It was Yao Guangshu. She was startled, put on her clothes and went out. When she came to the hall, Yao Guangshu, Lin Sishang and other 7 or 8 foundation building cultivators were standing there. Yang Zhao looked at them and greeted each other. After standing still and waiting for a while, other foundation building cultivators also came to the hall one after another. When everyone arrived, Yao Guangshu and Lin Zishang looked at each other, and Lin Zishang stood up. I believe everyone knows that the garrison has not been peaceful these days. The Sujin clan wants to come here to take a few turns to relieve their boredom. This was not a pleasant thing to say, and everyone present had angry expressions on their faces. It has always been a matter of courtesy and reciprocity. It is reasonable to give and take. Otherwise, the teachers of the prefectural school will blame us for not knowing etiquette. There is nothing else to do today. Now that the guests are here, we should at least go out to greet them and serve them tea. Otherwise, it really does not show the etiquette of our Yang Zhao prefectural school. These words sounded polite, but the anger in them could not be suppressed. Perhaps she did not want to suppress it at all. In the past few days, because the Yang Zhao prefectural school had a few garrisons and was short of soldiers and major generals, Lin Zishang had been focusing on defense. In addition to contacting Yao Guangshu and Lin Sheng, she even contacted the garrisons on the left and right. I guess she must be feeling aggrieved. As soon as she was safe, she wanted to take people out to find a place. After she finished speaking, the foundation building cultivators next to her were also filled with righteous indignation and spoke up to agree with Lin Zishang. That's right, senior sister Lin is right. If we don't go out and show our skills, I'm afraid that the Sujin clan will look down on us. We can't bear this humiliation for nothing. No matter what, we have to go out and find a place to fight. Senior sister Lin, just tell me what you want to do. I will never say no. Junior sister, I don't have any either. If you want to go out and see the world, you must take me with you. Take me too. Seeing that people are willing to work, Lin Zishang's face showed a satisfied look. Then let's study it carefully. Then she began to assign tasks. Although she didn't dare to show her head at the garrison these days, she didn't gain nothing. When she first came, she led people to control the periphery of the garrison, so she knew the time, place, and strength of the Sujin clan in the past few days. Lin Zishang naturally knew more about her own situation, so she quickly divided these foundation building cultivators into 3 groups. Some people went out as the main battle team to search for the enemy's traces and fight, led by Lin Zishang. Some people followed behind as a backup and also prevented the main battle team from stepping into any traps or being cut off, led by Yao Guangshu. Some people stayed at home, just in case. Lin Sheng led the main force at home. Yang Zhao followed Lin Zishang this time. I know you have the ability to identify the tentacles of the heart-eating beast. This time, please come with me. Later, Yang Zhao learned that Lin Zishang had an identification magic weapon given by a teacher from Yang Zhao Prefecture School, which was specially used to deal with the tentacles of the heart-eating beast. When Yao Guangshu led the team to investigate the enemy situation, this magic weapon fell into Yao Guangshu's hands to prevent them from encountering any accidents. After all, they were the ones who went deep into the enemy camp and were more likely to become targets of the Sujin clan. Unexpectedly, Yao Guangshu, who was investigating the enemy situation, did not encounter any problems, but Lin Sheng's team who went to the number 3 mining site encountered them. If Yang Zhao had not followed, their team would probably have been defeated there. Facing the strange heart-eating beast, Lin Zishang and Yao Guangshu had learned their lesson this time. Both teams going out had to make some guarantees. Yang Zhao naturally agreed. She also wanted to see the Sujin pagoda of the Sujin clan. If they could really fight the other side tonight, she would save the trouble of looking for the Sujin clan. Then we will trouble brother Daoist Yang. Lin Zishang was very familiar with the situation of the foundation building cultivators in Yang Zhao Prefecture School, and he was very good at assigning tasks. Yao Guangshu could not match him in this aspect, so he did not say much, and was the one who obeyed the arrangements. He said a few more words to Lin Sheng's instructions. You are very accomplished in formations. When we go out, the protective formations in the garrison point must be activated. If there is any stagnation in the circulation of spiritual energy, you must respond in time. Lin Sheng frowned as she listened. Obviously, she had some objections to her plan. Should we open this formation now? The amount of stored spiritual energy consumed by this formation, when it is in operation, is not a small amount, and it takes a lot of time to replenish it. Otherwise, how about opening a part of the defense formation first, and then trying the rest? Storing spiritual energy means absorbing the spiritual energy between heaven and earth with the formation as a guide, and then storing it in a special magic tool for use by the formation. Whether it is the lights above, or the planting land below, they all rely on the stored spiritual energy to operate. It can be said that without the stored spiritual energy, the garrison point will be useless. Lin Sheng didn't say everything, but the meaning of his words was very clear. He was afraid that the examiners of the competition would care about these things. After all, the stored spiritual energy is not blown by the wind, but accumulated bit by bit in daily life. If they rashly activate all of them, it will take a lot of time to replenish the spiritual energy. It is even possible that after the competition, the stored spiritual energy will not be restored to the usual level. It turns out that the soldiers and generals in the garrison point will definitely have opinions. This is equivalent to the food and grass they have saved being intercepted by others halfway, and they don't even say hello. I guess everyone will have opinions. Lin Zhao didn't care about these. Her face was solemn and her tone was firm. The safety of the garrison is the most important. The scores in the competition are not as valuable as the scores of our students in Yang Zhao Prefecture. This is because they are afraid that someone will be robbed when most of the foundation building cultivators are out. Most of the remaining ones are in the key training stage. If these people really have any accidents, the face of Yang Zhao Prefecture will be completely lost to Lu Yun, and she, the leader in the eyes of the students, will no longer be the case. In the annual competition, although it is common for the various prefectures to hinder each other and cause trouble, there are few cases where people die directly, and in the end, there will be a big fight. Lin Sheng's lips moved up and down several times, but no sound came out, so he acquiesced to this matter. I woke up the foundation establishment students this time. Wait half an hour after we leave, and then wake up the key refining students to prepare for defense. Otherwise, once the formation is in place, people from 10 to 20 miles away can see it, which will easily alert the enemy. Our mission this time is simple, but it is quite dangerous. All the brothers and sisters must be careful and cautious. Protecting yourself is the most important thing. After the battle, retreat, and don't be greedy for merit and rush forward. Yes, Sister Lin, don't worry, we all know what to do. Everyone, I'm a little confused about the following plot. I'm not satisfied with it, after writing it for several times. Let me think about it carefully. One chapter today. Chapter 236, Enemy Discovered. Outside the Yang Zhao Prefecture school garrison, the sky was dark and the stars were twinkling. They were making quite a lot of noise. Some students in the key training stage had already come out and stood in groups of 3 or 4 at the edge of the hall to watch. After Lin Zhao arranged everything properly, he turned to look at Yao Guangshu. Yao Guangshu coughed lightly to suppress the noise, took out a map from his arms, and pasted it on the wall. He took out a small magic sword and pointed at it. According to our investigation, just now, the number of Sujin clan members wandering outside our garrison increased from 3 teams to 5 teams, and 3 teams were deployed between the garrison and the number 3 mining site. Each of these teams has 12 to 15 people, and each team has 5 to 7 people in the foundation building stage, equipped with conventional weapons used by the Sujin clan. In other words, there are a total of 30 Sujin clan members in the foundation building stage around us, which is much stronger than the garrison at our Yang Zhao Prefecture. These 5 teams are scattered around, probably to intercept Junior Brother Lin Sheng and his team's counterattack. Fortunately, Junior Brother Lin and his team traveled day and night, and returned much earlier than the Sujin clan expected. Our advantage is obvious. Our forces are concentrated, and the information on both sides is asymmetric. If we attack them now, we will catch them off guard. The forces of the Sujin clan are scattered, and the 5 teams of the Sujin clan are some distance apart. We can choose the weak ones to attack and make a quick decision. If the first attack fails, retreat immediately. Don't hesitate and entangle, otherwise it will be easy for them to surround us. We have set the battle time to be 2 cups of tea. During this period, Senior Sister Lin, you just fight. No matter which team comes to support our team, we will hold them back. We don't have many people, but the gap with the opponent is not big. As long as we defeat one team, the forces of both sides will tend to be balanced. Lu Yuan is in a truce period now. It is impossible, and not allowed for both sides, to break out a large-scale conflict. Even if the other side loses manpower, it can only test on a small scale. This is beneficial to our garrison. If this surprise attack is successful, we can not only strike a blow to the arrogance of the opposite side, but also buy us a period of stability. Yao Guangshu glanced around with a serious expression. Be careful with your life grass, this thing is the easiest to be targeted. Senior Sister Lin, please hide the whereabouts of our two teams. Lin Sishang took out a small bottle from her arms, and there was a wooden stopper on the bottle. She took off the wooden stopper, and a light black-grey smoke spread from the mouth of the bottle to the entire hall. Although the color of this smoke is not good, it has no smell. Although the smoke is thick, Yang Zhao did not feel that his vision was disturbed in the smoke, giving people a contradictory feeling. She stretched out her hand and fanned it, and the smoke did not move at all. It can only be said that the world is really magical, and we must believe in science. Then Lin Sishang gave everyone a bulging bag. It contains palm thunder, 8 per person. We have refined them in the past few days at the garrison. Although the number is not large, we don't have to save it. Yang Zhao looked at the palm thunder in her hand, and remembered something she had forgotten. Lin Sheng and his team went to the number 3 mining site, not only to inspect the formation and heal the camel beast. In fact, on the way back, they should also escort back the quota of minerals from the Yang Zhao Prefecture School garrison. Each garrison should have a quota of 15 cars. Because the army has a shortage of Kyankan bags, these 15 cars of mineral quotas have been transported by camels. But because the situation at the Yang Zhao Prefecture School garrison was urgent, these 15 cars of minerals were left at the number 3 mining site. If these minerals cannot be transported back, Lin Sishang will be helpless. Yao Guangshu waited for Lin Sishang to finish this series of actions, and said in a deep voice to everyone, "Let's start now." Yes. Then, under the leadership of Yao Guangshu, everyone filed out of the garrison. When they got outside, they automatically divided into 2 teams. The magical thing was that the smoke on their bodies also separated automatically. Yang Zhao's team followed Lin Sishang and rushed in the sky, while the other team, led by Yao Guangshu, was far behind the team in front. Everyone in the sky took out their weapons, and Lin Sishang told Yang Zhao to always pay attention to the tentacles of the heart-eating beast from now on. That thing is good at hiding. If we go to the opposite side and it finds us, it will probably alert the Sujin clan. We have to be on guard. Yang Zhao nodded in agreement, used the incense to forge a divine body, and her black eyes turned golden, indifferently scanning the dark surroundings. She felt very uncomfortable, and her hands were slightly sweaty. She was a good youth in modern society, and the biggest violent activity she had participated in was a group fight on campus. Yang Zhao's brother and sister were not much different in age, and they always fought together, but they were just children who didn't know much. Although they shouted loudly, they had no rules with their hands. It was different from killing people on the battlefield. She seemed to have become a mercenary in this war, and this tentative development made Yang Zhao feel very uncomfortable. She was afraid that she would not be able to be ruthless at that time, and she was also afraid that she would be ruthless without hesitation. It can only be said that, if you live long enough, you will encounter all kinds of strange things. The Sujin clan team we are going to attack has a total of 12 people, only 6 of whom are in the foundation building stage. Although we have one more foundation building stage than them, we should not underestimate them. When we meet, we should first greet them with palm thunder. Lin Sishang's voice was like a thin thread that drilled into Yang Zhao's ears and eyes. This should be a magic spell that can transmit sound into secrets. The air here is thin, so don't use spells with fire, wind, and water attributes. The effect is not good. The Sujin clan is born with strong soul power, so everyone should be careful. After flying for a cup of tea, Lin Sishang led the people to stop in the sky. She took out a copper coin from her sleeve, held the copper coin in front of her eyes, and looked down for a while along the small hole of the copper coin. After putting the copper coin away, she reached out to a small mound below and said, "See, this small mound is the camouflage formation of the Sujin clan." Yang Zhao looked down with his golden eyes and did not find anything wrong with the small mound. It looked like an ordinary small mound. Calling it a mountain would be a bit unfair. It was a small mound of earth about 3 or 4 meters high, exactly the same as the surrounding environment. It seems that the incense cast divine body cannot see through the camouflage array. She originally thought that she was a variant of the great saint's fire eyes and golden pupils, but she didn't expect that she was arrogant. Lin Sishang took out his bag of palm thunder. The formation of the Sujin clan has its own unique features. Let's take advantage of the fact that the other party hasn't noticed it and directly use the palm to blast it. Don't wait for a chapter today. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237, Fierce Battle. While Lin Sishang was giving instructions, a piercing sound came from the small earthen mound below, and it was unknown what language it was, but the voice was quite loud. Anyway, Yang Zhao did not understand a single word. As soon as the voice fell, a large crack appeared on the small earthen mound below. Then, the entire mound slowly disappeared, and the cat inside appeared. It was a large creature somewhat similar to a beetle, black and red in color, more than 1 meter tall and more than 2 meters long, with wings and no wings. The head was ferocious, and the whole body was covered with a layer of furry steel hair. It had a pair of upper jaws of 30 to 40 centimeters on its mouth, and even if the surrounding environment was dim, the cold light on its body could be seen. Yang Zhao looked at this group of things, and he got goosebumps all over his body, and stood up to salute. But along with these beetles, a vaguely towering and huge building appeared in the sky. The building was pale white, covering an area of hundreds of acres, wide at the bottom and narrow at the top, with layers stacked on top of each other, and it had the momentum of reaching the sky. Sujin Pagoda. This is the legendary Sujin Pagoda. It's not that the Sujin Tower will appear only when the Sujin clan is seen, but Yang Zhao didn't see a single human after a quick glance. She stared at the large beetles below with horror and had a bad idea in her mind. Could these beetles be from the Sujin clan? Can these insects also have intelligence? And judging from their size, the Sujin clan's hometown should be a place where wildfires frequently occur. Because of the high oxygen content, large insects can be nurtured. The following changes happened in the blink of an eye. Seeing that his team was discovered by the people below, Lin Sishang threw all the palm mines in his hands down. Boom. They found us. Throw the palm mines quickly. When they shouted, several other Sujin patrols were also alarmed. Others were quick to throw the palm mines in their hands down. Boom. Boom boom. The roaring sound was endless, and Yang Zhao also tried to throw too. The big beetle below also reacted quickly. When it saw something falling, the winged beetle vibrated its wings, and a layer of dark spiritual light quickly rose up, blocking the palm thunder outside. But this spiritual light was not an absolute defense. After 20 or 30 palm thunders, the spiritual light was blasted into tiny points of light and disappeared into the void. But this moment of obstruction also gave the big beetle below room to turn around. The wingless beetle quickly hid its body, and the winged beetle spit out a bead. As soon as the bead came out, it spun around, grew in the wind, and crashed into the people in the sky with a whirring sound. Yang Zhao stared at the metal ball with a diameter of more than 2 meters in front of him in an instant. He shook the giant long spear in his hand, and the tip of the spear was a little below the bead. He used his clever strength to pick it up and fly it out along with the force of the bead. Bang! Seeing the big metal ball flying far away, she quickly glanced around and found that most of the students of Yang Zhao Prefecture School on both sides dodged sideways. Only Lin Sishang was different. She was seen holding a big hammer with a black long handle in both hands, and the hammer head was more than 1 person tall. She exerted force with both arms and raised the hammer high. Clang! She slammed the big iron ball into the ground. The stones on the ground flew high, and the black and yellow dust rolled on the ground. Looking at the fierce woman coming out of the mountain, Yang Zhao felt a chill in his teeth. and suddenly felt a cool breeze behind his head. She used her spiritual power and fell down more than 10 feet and saw a big metal ball flying past her scalp with a whistling sound. This thing actually has a retrieval and positioning system. Except for the big iron ball that the fierce woman Lin Shang hit into the ground, the other big metal balls that were avoided unloaded their inertia in the distance, turned their gun heads, and hit back at a faster speed. Not many people have such sharp perceptions, and several people were about to be hit by the ball. Yang Zhao clapped the Jiana long spear in his palm, and the Jiana long spear flew up and swung the nearest big metal ball away. The person who was saved was Liu Shao, and he looked at Yang Zhao gratefully. But the others were not so lucky. In addition to Lin Shang, who knocked two away with the sledgehammer, the other three were knocked to the ground by the big metal ball with their defensive magic weapons, and the black and yellow dust surged up again in an instant. The 5 winged beetles on the ground here have already flown into the air. They pressed down their feather wings and held up their huge upper jaws and rushed towards the people in the sky like an arrow from a string. Yang Zhao stared at the beetle that was charging at him, calculating the distance in his mind. When it was too close to turn, he dodged to the side and swung the spear in his hand to hit the flying wings of the other side. Clang! The Jiana long spear and the beetle's front wing elytra collided suddenly, making a metallic collision sound. Yang Zhao felt the Jiana long spear tremble suddenly when it was hit, and then he held the gun handle tightly to prevent the gun from being bounced away by the force. The collision force of the beetle plus the force of Yang Zhao's Jiana long spear instantly cut one of the wings into 2 sections. The beetle lost one of its wings, and the flight that was originally rushing around quickly lost its balance, rolled crookedly and flew out, and then hit the ground by inertia. Liu Shao, who was next to him, faced the beetle and used the skill of 1,000-pound weight to shrink down suddenly and dodge. The big beetle flew over his head with a whirlwind. Liu Shao turned around and looked at the big beetle that turned around in the air. He grabbed the bell in his hand and rang it. The thin bell sounded everywhere. The big beetle that turned around and prepared to attack again was struck by lightning. The track that was originally heading straight for collision was like a derailed bus that took an S shape and flew a long way before it recovered. Lin Shang over there was much simpler. She didn't do any fancy moves. She raised the hammer with both hands and hammered the 2 big beetles attacking her to the ground one by one. The pit on the ground fit the 2 beetles perfectly, and the 2 beetles were like fossils embedded in the ground. But this state did not last for a second or two. Their huge chelicerae struggled hard, and the 2 big beetles flew up in the flying mud. Suddenly, the big metal ball that was originally embedded in the ground broke free from the restraints of the ground, flew up again, and rushed in the air. Yang Zhao closely watched the movement of the big metal ball and imitated Lin Shang, holding the Jiana long spear high in his hand, and suddenly smashed it down, smashing the big metal ball into the ground. Hash. The big beetle whose wing was broken by Yang Zhao quickly crawled back from the ground in the distance, opening and closing its mouth, and the big metal ball that Yang Zhao had smashed into the ground spun again and broke free from the ground, flying into the air and attacking everyone. Chapter 238, Big Bug. The sky of Luoyuan was full of stars. Yang Zhao dodged the large metal balls flying around in the sky while shouting out the questions in his mind. I say, is this big bug really from the Sujin clan? Liu Shao was not good at fighting with force and had long been hiding near Yang Zhao, shaking the bell from time to time to disrupt the rhythm of the big beetle's attack. No, this is the Sujin clan's vehicle, and the Sujin clan is attached to the bodies of these golden beetles. Could it be that the Sujin clan is a parasite? It's a bit disgusting to think so. After we defeat these big beetles, do we have to fight the Sujin clan again? What do the Sujin clan look like? This question stunned Liu Shao. He blinked his eyes, opened and closed his mouth, and finally glossed over the topic. Well, you don't need to care what they look like. You just need to know that these big beetles should be destroyed, and the Sujin clan attached to these big beetles will not be able to stir up trouble. Yang Zhao grinned and found the right angle, using the Jiana long spear to cut off the wings of the big beetle that hit her and Liu Shao. This beetle also became a wingless plane and inevitably crashed to the ground. A crisp and piercing bell sounded, and Lin Shang, who was playing whack-a-mole, stared. Don't waste time, Yao Kishao has encountered an enemy. The students of Yang Zhao Prefecture were shocked, and the magic weapons and spells in their hands became more fierce. They accelerated their hands and feet, and fought with the 5 big beetles in the sky and on the ground for a cup of tea before the winner was decided. Originally, the Yang Zhao Academy's assault team had more foundation building period than the Sujin clan, and they were at a disadvantage because of their intentions. In addition to Yang Zhao's special ability to destroy the wings of the giant beetles, Lin Zishang used a sledgehammer to violently attack the giant beetles that were hit twice by her, and basically all of them lay on the ground and could not get up. The ground was already a mess, with holes everywhere made by the big metal balls. 5 miserable giant beetles lay on the ground motionless. These giant beetles were all hit on the head by Lin Zishang with a sledgehammer. Even though the white grey insect meat squeezed out of the head, the hind legs of the claws were still shaking. Lin Zishang shook the unknown liquid on the hammer and used a cleaning spell to clean the hammer. Then she took out the familiar little bottle from her arms, pulled the cork off, stood up and flew into the air. The black and grey smoke quickly spread to everyone. She put away her things, glanced at everyone and gave orders. "Let's retreat." "Yes." The group moved in unison and began to fly to the place where the bell rang. Yang Zhao followed the team with the giant long spear, looking at the towering tower behind him with some reluctance. She was so confused by the battle that she had to speak out her doubts and ask Liu Xiao, who was flying in front of her, what was the reason. "When we started fighting, didn't we need to look for those wingless beetles that were hiding? And we didn't see the Sujin clan show up." Liu Xiao answered, while flying forward against the whistling wind. "The Sushang clan is not very different from us. Because of their own clan, they can't come out alone before the giant stage. They can only survive by parasitizing other creatures. Those golden beetles are their parasites in Luoyang. When these golden beetles are fatally injured, the Sujin clan itself will also be injured. Without these golden beetles, they are nothing. As for those without wings, they are all in the key refining stage. We are in a truce period and cannot kill them, so there is no need to waste time." After a lot of chatter, Liu Xiao turned his head alertly to look at Yang Zhao. "I say, Brother Yang, do you really know nothing about these things, or do you just want to deceive me?" Yang Zhao looked at Liu Xiao speechlessly. "You know, I'm an outsider cultivator. It's normal that I don't understand these things. Fellow Daoist Liu, why are you still humiliating me on this?" Liu Xiao looked at him suspiciously, then turned back to continue his chatter. "Did you see Senior Sister Lin's fight just now? She was really heroic. These golden beetles are no match for Senior Sister Lin. Senior Sister Lin is the real leader of our Yang Zhao Prefecture school. Don't think that you look down on us just because you beat a Lin Saint. If it weren't for preparing for the competition, Senior Sister Lin would have already rushed to the giant stage with the help of the gentleman and would not have wasted time on building the foundation. I tell you, Senior Sister Lin had already." Once this person opened the chatterbox called Senior Sister Lin, it was a bit difficult to shut it off. Yang Zhao let Liu Xiao's words go in one ear and out the other, thinking about the Sujin pagoda of the Sujin clan in his heart. This thing looks illusory, like a mirage, an illusory bubble. It is estimated that some special key is needed to turn this illusion into reality so that 3-dimensional characters like them can enter. But this weird thing really makes people feel uneasy. Is it really safe to enter here? The team in the sky did not fly for long before they saw a large metal ball and a large beetle taking off in the air in front of them, with wind, fire, thunder and lightning in the same color. Chapter 239, Reception. 2 huge fire nets were burning in the distance, and they were particularly conspicuous in the dark night of Luoyang. The flames mixed with lightning struck the dozen or so large winged beetles trapped inside. These large beetles folded their wings, and the flames mixed with lightning attacked their dark shells, and the fine hairs on the shells burned, emitting bursts of black smoke. But even with the black smoke, it did not affect the struggle of these large beetles. Large metal balls were ramming around outside the fire nets, cruising around, and ramming hard at Yao Guangshu and his group outside the giant nets. Yao Guangshu and his group dodged the pursuit of the large metal balls, while trying to control the 2 huge fire nets, to prevent them from collapsing and dissipating in the next quarter of an hour. They prevented the golden beetles inside from escaping. Some of the foundation building students of Yang Zhao Prefecture were unable to split themselves up and would be knocked out by the large metal balls if they were not careful. Fortunately, these people have one or two defensive magic weapons that can help them survive the huge inertia of the big metal ball. But they are inevitably in a mess, and it is obvious that except for Yao Guangshu, who is still barely holding on, the others can no longer hold on. The fire net mixed with lightning flickered, and it seemed that it would be torn apart by the struggling beetle inside in the next moment. $An. The golden beetle in the giant net shouted something, but the sound was so loud that it could be heard from miles away. Suddenly, the same shouting sound came from afar, and at the same time, the sound of dense wings flapping also came from afar. Without asking, it is known that another team of Sujin clan is about to arrive. Lin Sishang, who was flying ahead of everyone, saw the scene in front of him, frowned, and shouted, "Yao Kishao, I'm here to help you." A long shout resounded through the world, and Yao Guangshu and others outside the fire net were shocked. "Sister Lin is here." Lin Sishang dragged the huge long-handled giant hammer, and his spiritual power turned, and his flying speed increased a lot. "Yang Zhao and I will go to help Yao Kishao, and you guys go and take the others to retreat." Yes. The few people split into two teams, and Yang Zhao accelerated and followed behind Lin Sishang. "Fellow Daoist Lin, what should I do?" Lin Sishang said without turning his head. "You are responsible for taking Yao Kishao away, and you can't delay the opportunity." "Okay, I understand." Lin Sishang flew to the front of the fire net with a long-handled giant hammer. She avoided the big metal balls attacking her, and without picking, she picked a big beetle closest to her, raised the giant hammer and hit it hard on the head. Tong. Tong tong. After a few hammers, a bug's brain burst, and she aimed the giant hammer at the next target. Yang Zhao on this side, swung the dragon spear, and pushed away the big metal balls flying around Yao Guangshu. "Fellow Daoist Yao, can you retreat by yourself, or?" When Yao Guangshu saw Yang Zhao flying over, his nerves relaxed, his body staggered, and he almost fell to the ground. "I have internal injuries, and can't fly far. I'll have to trouble brother Yang to take me a ride." "Excuse me." Yang Zhao said nothing, dodged a large metal ball, grabbed the giant long spear with one hand, bent down and carried Yao Guangshu to fly. Cough. 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 A huge cough sounded from behind. Yang Zhao dodged a large metal ball flying towards him, and asked in the gap, "Yao Kishao, what's wrong?" Brother Yang, can you change your posture?" Yang Zhao understood that he thought this posture was a bit embarrassing, but this was not her intention. Yao Guangshu was a head taller than Yang Zhao, and it was not easy for her to hold Yao Guangshu with one hand when she was standing on the ground. Because if she held a person, not only Yang Zhao had to hold the other person with one hand, but the person being held had to hold one hand on Yang Zhao's neck or shoulder to increase stability. And this posture affects the flexibility of her other hand, limiting her use of the giant long spear in her hand. This counts as occupying both hands, and carrying it on her shoulder would free up one of her hands, allowing her to reduce the risk of accidents. However, since it would hurt someone's face, she still had to ask Yao Guangshu symbolically, "Yao Kishao, how about I hold you up? But it's not easy for me to use weapons with my hand in this position." Yao Guangshu was very tactful and opened his mouth to deny her previous proposal. It's okay, you can do whatever you want, just get out of danger first." Even though Yao Guangshu was carried by someone, he was still holding the hand seal of the flame net, for fear that, if he let go, the net would dissipate and let these big beetles escape. Yang Zhao held the gun with one hand, and his strength was not that great. He didn't dare to use brute force to sweep away these big metal balls, like he did with both hands. He could only use some cleverness and borrow some strength from the big metal balls to dodge. "Sister Lin, my lightning and fire net is 20 feet away, so I can't control it." Yao Guangshu yelled at Lin Sishang from behind Yang Zhao. "Sister Lin, you have to pay attention to the distance between me and the lightning and fire net. Don't let them entangle you in the end. Let's go quickly. Don't waste time." Bang, bang, bang. Lin Sishang quickly used the giant hammer in her palm to knock open the head of another big insect. After hearing what Yao Guangshu shouted, she sucked her teeth regretfully. With one hammer, she knocked away the big metal ball that attacked her from behind. Chapter 240. Outflanking. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Zhao seized the last bit of time to smash the head of another big beetle. Then she swept the big metal ball that was attacking her madly with the hammer and chased after Yang Zhao as soon as she touched the ground. In such a short time, she smashed the heads of 2 beetles in a hurry. Lin Zhao put away the big hammer in her hand and kept taking things out of her arms and throwing them behind. Some of these things fell directly to the ground and some floated in the air and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Some of them flashed blue and red light, flew straight back and hit the big beetles chasing behind with a snap, bursting into brilliant flowers, and the beetles shook their heads constantly. Lin Zhao flew and scattered all the way as if her Kayankan bag was filled with countless treasures. The people who followed Yao Guangshu to meet them all had some injuries on their bodies. In order to maintain the 2 giant thunder and fire nets, the spiritual power in their bodies was exhausted. The reality made their team lose the ability to fly long distances and quickly, and they could only rely on others. Yang Zhao carried Yao Guangshu and dodged the big metal ball and flew forward. After a while, he caught up with the others and flew to the front of the team. A black shadow flashed in the corner of Liu Xiao's eyes, which frightened him, and he thought that the big beetle caught up with him. Later, he found that someone rushed in front of him. He looked carefully and found that it was Yang Zhao who carried Yao Guangshu and flew in front of him. Looking at Yao Guangshu's awkward posture, Liu Xiao's mouth corners curved up involuntarily. "Friend Yang, I have a junior sister here, otherwise I will take Yao Xiao, and you can take the junior sister. It's better, it's lighter." When he shouted, everyone's eyes were focused on Yang Zhao and Yao Guangshu, and finally the corners of those people's mouths rose involuntarily. Yang Zhao turned his head and found that there were 2 people on Liu Xiao's left and right, one of whom was a girl with a disheveled figure and a listless spirit. Yang Zhao was somewhat tempted by Liu Xiao's suggestion and wanted to stop and change people, but she hadn't thought that before she could say the words of agreement, Lin Zhang's scolding voice came from behind. "Liu Xiao, what are you doing? Run. The thunder and fire net behind us has fallen apart. Run, we can't let those golden beetles catch up with us, otherwise we may be prisoners of war." In just these 2 sentences, Liu Xiao was dragged by the 2 men and fell behind by a long way. Yang Zhao shrank her neck. Although Lin Zhao didn't scold her, she didn't dare to argue with Liu Xiao. Turning her head and looking back, she found that there were 10 big beetles chasing behind them. These big beetles shouted in an incomprehensible language and chased them like crazy. In another direction, more than 10 small black dots could be vaguely seen approaching them quickly. It was because the eyesight of the Foundation building period was good that the beetle armor on these big beetles could still reflect light, otherwise the many small black dots would not be visible in the dark night. But the most important thing was that the towering Tangshan tower that appeared above the black dot was really too conspicuous. The 2 giant towers were approaching each other quickly, and there were signs that they were about to touch and merge together. It seemed that the enemy's reinforcement had arrived. Yang Zhao did not dare to look back. She held her breath and flew forward with Yao Guangshu on her back. She did not want to be caught up by the big beetles behind her. The most important thing was that she was afraid of being parasitized by the Sujin clan. This always reminded her of cordyceps sinensis and liver flukes, which made her sick just thinking about it. Lin Zhao quickly approached Liu Xiao and grabbed a person from Liu Xiao to lighten his burden. Liu Xiao was relieved of one of his responsibilities, and his flying speed increased significantly, and he was finally able to keep up with the main force. As these foundation building cultivators from Yang Zhao prefecture flew, they could hear clanging sounds coming from behind them. Sometimes it was the sound of an explosion, sometimes it was the sound of metal colliding, and there were many kinds. Every time a noise came, it could be found that the flying speed of those big beetles was hindered by the gadgets thrown by Lin Zhao. By time for the people of Yang Zhao prefecture to escape, Yang Zhao opened his golden eyes, carrying Yao Guangshu in the lead. Lin Zhao carried a person in the back, and the group quickly flew across the sky and flew towards the garrison point. But after flying for a cup of tea or 2, a black shadow appeared in front of her, and a towering tower appeared above the black shadow. There are Sujin clan ahead. The black shadows quickly became more and more, and in the blink of an eye, 6 ferocious big beetles pounced in front of them. The eyes of others were also useful. As soon as Yang Zhao reminded them, they discovered the small group of uninvited guests in front. Lin Zishang's voice reached Yang Zhao's ears. Rush in one breath. We can't let them entangle us. Yang Zhao waved the Jiana long spear in his hand, carried Yao Guangshu, and rushed over against the cold wind. Chapter 241, Charge. In the dark night, the empty and desolate Luoyuan showed a different kind of liveliness. Now the Yang Zhao Prefecture School has pursuers behind them, and obstacles in front of them. Once they are tripped, it will be difficult to get out. Yang Zhao watched the big beetles in front of him arrange the formation, and then they were covered with golden light. In an instant, the golden light became one, and even the speed slowed down. Seeing this scene, Yang Zhao gritted his teeth secretly. It seemed that the other party wanted to defend on the spot and delay time. She could see behind her, and everyone could see it too. Lin Zishang was at the end of the team and asked loudly, "Fellow Daoist Yang, can you please take out the fingerlings who in your hand, to support my junior brothers and sisters, and let us free up our hands? What's the difficulty?" Yang Zhao threw the Jiana long spear in the air and casually ordered, "Follow." Then she freed her hands, and took out the fingerlings who from her arms. She suddenly injected spiritual power into it, and threw it into the sky. Fenglings who grew in the wind, crackling and breaking into dozens of metal plates that circled in the air. Yang Zhao moved his mind, and these dozens of metal plates were laid flat together, and floated in the air. She tried to put Yao Guangshu on a metal plate, and the metal plate sank slightly and stabilized. "You can put the people down, let them come up too." Yang Zhao slowed down slightly, waiting for the people behind him to put the exhausted people up. Lin Zishang's team put Yao Guangshu's team one by one on the metal plate of Fenglings who, after placing the people, they automatically rushed in front of Yang Zhao, and faced the big beetles in front. Lin Zishang was the last one to put the people down, and thanked Yang Zhao. "Now I have to trouble brother Yang to take care of them." Yang Zhao recalled the Jiana long spear, and pressed one hand on the metal plate of Fenglings who to input spiritual power, so that they could fly quickly behind the team. "It's only natural, but I can't charge into battle now." Lin Zishang shook his head indifferently. "Nothing, I also want to thank you for helping me so much. I'm just going to show you our methods now." Lin Zishang rushed forward, took out a Kayankan bag from his pocket, and threw it into Liu Shao's hand. "Liu Shao, go to the back to hold the formation." "Yes." Liu Shao held the bell, slowed down, and came behind Yang Zhao. He opened the Kayankan bag given by Lin Zishang, took out something from it, and threw it behind him after a detailed search. Then this action became faster and faster, and in less than a moment, he threw more than a dozen things. Lin Zishang took out the flag of Yang Zhao Prefecture School from his arms, and threw it into the air. The flag suddenly became larger and spread out in the wind. "Yang Zhao Prefecture School, follow me to set up the formation." The people behind Lin Zishang responded loudly, and then turned around and walked, using the magic weapon in his hand as a guide, connecting with the flag in the sky, and growing a golden red light. Even the people who were resting on Fenglings who took the magic weapon, and joined the formation. With the flag of Yang Zhao Prefecture School in the sky as the head and Liu Shao behind Yang Zhao as the tail, the golden red light array enveloped the entire team. The light became stronger and stronger, and in an instant it was like a substance. Fenglings who was carried by the golden red light, and followed Lin Zishang and the others to move quickly. Yang Zhao was still using his spiritual power to support the Fengling ball. Fenglings who accelerated, and almost threw her away. Yang Zhao could only sit on the Fengling ball with his hand, saving some effort. If you look down from a high place, you can see a huge golden red arrow hitting the golden shield in front. Bang clang. The two lights collided head on, and stalemated for a moment. After that, the golden red light tore apart the golden shield like a towel and silk, and then rushed out hundreds of meters like an arrow without any hesitation. The big beetles were rushed in all directions, but they reacted quickly and turned their guns to catch up. Lin Zishang rushed forward a few hundred meters with the power of the tooth flag, and then he said to dissolve the formation and put away the tooth flag. Although this thing is powerful, it consumes a lot of spiritual power. She can withstand it, but the junior brothers and sisters behind her can't withstand such spiritual power consumption. What's more, the few people on Fenglings who are also in the formation, they are afraid that their spiritual power consumption will be too much, which will wear out their foundation of cultivation. Sure enough, as soon as the tooth flag was put away and the formation was dispersed, their speed dropped directly. However, with the power of this flag, they are now more than 1 kilometer away from the wave of big beetles that just blocked them. Keep going forward, don't slow down. After Lin Zishang gave the order, he slowed down from the front and came to the back of the team. Liu Shao returned the Kyankan bag in his hand. Lin Zishang borrowed the Kyankan bag and began to throw various small things back. Senior sister, don't worry, I will definitely tell the teachers in the prefecture school about your losses in this competition and let them compensate you for the losses after returning. Chapter 242, Tao, 2-in-1. Listening to Liu Shao's nagging beside him, Lin Zishang frowned and looked at him. Are you okay? If you are, go to the front and lead the charge. Liu Shao smiled awkwardly. I'll go now. He sped up and came to the front of the team and led the charge. Lin Zishang took out 2 small things from her Kyankan bag and scattered them behind her. Then she was startled and looked up and glanced around. This glance made her find something wrong. She put away the Kyankan bag, flew to the metal plate of the Finglings Hu, and carried a person off the Finglings Hu. Thank you for your hard work, Brother Yang. I was inconsiderate and almost forgot about you. Because the burden on the team was reduced, their speed was more than twice as fast as before. But no matter fat or thin, the foundation building stage has some weight. On the Finglings Hu, these 8 people added up to nearly 3,000 pounds, and now the whole team has sped up. This situation is a big burden for Yang Zhao. Lin Zishang just glanced and understood her situation, which led to the action just now. Yang Zhao felt that the Fenglings Hu suddenly became lighter, and the spiritual power consumed was also reduced. It's okay, it didn't take too long. Lin Zishang carried the people and gave an order to the team in front. According to the distribution just now, help everyone on the Fenglings Hu down. Yes. The foundation building cultivators in front took turns to slow down and carried people off the Fenglings Hu one by one. As the number of people decreased, Yang Zhao's burden became lighter and lighter. When only Yao Guangshu was left on it, she breathed a sigh of relief. She got off the Fenglings Hu herself and did not put the Fenglings Hu away, but just made it a little smaller and held it under Yao Guangshu. After all, the posture of carrying Yao Guangshu was not very elegant, so it was better to put it on the Fenglings Hu. Yao Guangshu smiled shyly and said, I still had some strength, but unfortunately after the Yaki charge just now, I really can't squeeze out any spiritual power. Yang Zhao comforted him softly. When we get back to the garrison, you can take a good rest. But it's really amazing that the 8 of you can hold off more than a dozen big beetles for such a long time. You must have some tricks to convince others. Otherwise, I would not be embarrassed to come to Yang Zhao Prefecture School to compete for the first place. The 2 of them chatted for a while, and Lin Zishang in the back was biting the Kyankan bag in her mouth, and one hand began to take out the small things inside. Hearing the faint sound of ping pong coming from behind, Yang Zhao couldn't help but feel curious. How many small things are in her Kyankan bag? In just a short while, at least dozens of them were thrown out. Whether it was a magic weapon or a formation plate, the value of these things was a huge sum. No wonder Liu Shao felt distressed just now and shouted for Yang Zhao Prefecture School to compensate her. As the burden on Yang Zhao Prefecture School increased, the speed that had just been raised dropped again. Although Lin Zishang was throwing a lot of silver outside, the big beetles were still getting closer and closer. But these people were divided into 3 waves. The closest wave had only 6 big beetles, the middle group had more than a dozen, and the group behind had about 10. It seemed that there were more people from the Sujin clan than Yao Guangshu said when he assigned the task. Yao Guangshu also discovered this problem. He frowned and muttered to himself. It seems that the other side has transferred another small team to our side. Are they really going to fight here? Lin Zishang over there took out the last handful of small things and threw them behind, then stuffed the Kyankan bag into his arms. Hearing Yao Guangshu's question, she also frowned and glanced at the pursuers behind. It shouldn't happen. We are just fighting a little here. The truce was agreed upon by the Sujin clan and us. This is just some minor friction. No one can bear the responsibility if we start a war. Ashley, Yao Guangshu sighed, nodded and said, I hope so. Now these Sujin clan are enough for us to deal with. Fortunately, we took the initiative today and destroyed one team first. Otherwise, the opponent's troops would be twice as strong as ours. It would be troublesome to fight again at that time. Seeing Lin Zishang rummaging through her arms, she didn't find anything. Seeing her like this, Yang Zhao took out the bag of palm thunder from his arms and handed it to her. Fellow Daoist Lin, I still have a few palm thunders here. I didn't throw them all just now. Do you have any use? Lin Zishang was slightly stunned, but still obediently took the bag. Thank you very much, fellow Daoist Yang. She took out a handful of small wooden blocks from her arms, attached a small wooden block to a palm thunder, and finally threw all the palm thunders out. This palm thunder would explode soon after leaving the hand, but it didn't explode immediately this time. It seems that the small wooden block is a delay device. After waiting for Lin Zishang to finish his work, Yang Zhao looked at the black and grey gas surrounding him, pointed and asked the doubts in his heart. Is our thing useless? Why didn't those big beetles lose our trace? Lin Zishang continued to fumble in the Kyankan bag without giving up. That's because we are stained with the blood of the golden beetles, and those golden beetles are very sensitive to their own blood. Yang Zhao nodded slightly after listening. So that's the case. He thought that these golden beetles had fiery eyes and could see through illusions. Lin Zishang's stock should really be gone. Not long after, as the big beetles chased after him, these palm thunders still exploded. Although Lin Zishang threw out a lot of small treasures along the way, the Sujin clan were not fools. They encountered this trap once or twice, and they remembered it the third and fourth times. Besides, these big beetles are protected by golden light, which can prevent some minor injuries. These little things can't hurt many big beetles they live in. Lin Zishang knew all these situations. She threw so many small things, it would be better if she could hurt one or two. If she couldn't hurt them, it would be good to delay for a while. It was a state of hitting a stick, if there was a date or not. The sky was gradually getting brighter, and the light of the stars shone obliquely on the earth. The big beetle behind was getting closer and closer to Yang Zhao and his men. After Yang Zhao's reminder, Lin Zishang no longer bothered about his Kyankan bag, and began to collect the unused palm thunders from other people. It's just that she told him not to feel sorry for this thing at the beginning, and to use it hard. Naturally, the others followed her orders, and after the first fierce battle, they didn't stop and used a lot. The reason why Yang Zhao left most of the bag was because she dared to throw two down. The reason was that she was afraid that the palm thunder she threw would blow someone to death in front of her. But unexpectedly, the Sujin clan was not a person. Lin Zishang collected only about 7 or 8 of them. She didn't think it was too little, and she attached small wooden blocks to each of them and threw them behind. With the explosion of these 7 or 8 palm thunders, the big beetles had already chased them more than 100 meters behind them. And HF. The big beetles behind them kept shouting loudly, and the sound had reached Yang Zhao's ears. Yang Zhao estimated that it was some words like stop, don't go, eat our iron ball. Maybe there were some dirty words or something. Anyway, she couldn't understand. But someone shouting not far behind her did give her a great sense of urgency. Faced with this situation, the atmosphere of the whole team became more tense. Yao Guangshu sat on Feng Ling's Hu, stood up tremblingly, and looked around. Then he shouted, I just observed the surroundings, and found that in half a cup of tea, we will reach the garrison point of Yang Zhao Prefecture School. Yang Zhao was refreshed after hearing Yao Guangshu's words, and the others had the same reaction. Seeing the good effect, Yao Guangshu continued to work hard. We have been out for more than an hour. Lin Sheng has already opened the formations at the garrison point. As long as we are safe, we can even use the formations at the garrison point to counterattack. Good. When the time comes, I will use the formations to settle accounts with these big bugs. That's great. I feel that my spiritual power is a little intermittent. I don't want to talk anymore. Lin Zishang listened to a few words and stopped them. Don't chat to divert your attention. Use your mind to fly, otherwise the speed will be slower. Listen to Yao Kui Shao, speed up and keep moving forward. Yes. Everyone quieted down and continued to move forward with all their strength. But gradually, some people slowed down. Yang Zhao slowly enlarged the Fingling's Hu and asked him to put the person on his body on the Fingling's Hu. The man looked at Lin Zishang, saw her nod, smiled gratefully at Yang Zhao, and put the person on. Without such a big burden, the man's flying speed increased a lot. Soon after, the second and third people were placed on the Fingling's Hu. Yang Zhao felt a little exhausted again. She had enough spiritual power in her body, but the large amount of spiritual power she called quickly still made her breathing heavy. Seeing this situation, Lin Zishang asked everyone else to retreat behind Yang Zhao. She also placed the person on the Fingling's Hu and then took out a long light pink gauze scarf from her Kyankan bag. She flew in front of Yang Zhao and held the long gauze in her hand. The pink gauze quickly became longer. One end was supported under the metal plate of the Fingling's Hu, and the other end was held in her own hand. Then her spiritual power poured into the gauze scarf, and Yang Zhao felt the weight of the Fingling's Hu suddenly lightened, and she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 243, Home. In this way, Yang Zhao and Lin Zishang took the lead to drag Fingling's Hu, and the other foundation building cultivators protected them behind them, and the group flew forward. Woo 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 woo, strange sounds came faintly from behind, followed by the sound of ping ping clang. Yang Zhao found an opportunity to look back, and found that the back had already been in close combat, and saw that the big black metal ball was hitting straight at him with a faint sound of wind. The people at the back were not to be outdone, and tried to unload the power of those big iron balls and hit them down. Originally, the others could fly much faster after unloading the burden, but in order to protect the people on Fingling's Hu, they could only stay at the back. Now Yang Zhao and Lin Zishang dared not move rashly, and the others fought hard. Lin Zishang listened to the voices behind him carefully. Fellow Daoist Yang, can we increase our strength and increase the distance a little? Yang Zhao naturally did not say anything, and the two of them worked at the same time, and the speed of Fingling's Hu increased a little, and the people at the back also increased their speed accordingly. Even if they only raised their speed a little, they would be able to create some distance from the ones behind them. The people at the back of the team finally had a chance to breathe, but the big beetles behind them were not to be outdone, and they forced themselves to increase their speed, and chased after them. They fought on and off for another half a cup of tea, and both sides suffered damage. At this moment, Lin Zishang's face suddenly lit up. Come to support. Yang Zhao looked forward and saw that there were 7 or 8 people flying in front of her. When they were closer, she could clearly see that the leader was Wu Shiji. Come to support. Finally, we are almost home. The others were also sharp-eyed and happy to see the people in front of them. Both sides were moving at a fast pace, and they met in the blink of an eye. Wu Shiji saw the predicament of her side at a glance. She took off a bag hanging from her waist and threw it up. A bird with yellow and green feathers flew out of the bag. The bird swelled up in the wind, and its wingspan grew to more than 10 meters in a breath. It swooped up and down, and Lin Zishang threw the pink scarf and his hand up. The big bird stretched out its powerful claws, grabbed the scarf, and flew forward with its wings. Yang Zhao stumbled and was grabbed by Yao Guangshu on Fingling's Hu. Be careful. Thank you. After thanking him, Yang Zhao flew forward with the power of Fingling's Hu. With the help of this big bird, Fingling's Hu's speed suddenly increased. Dao Ao Yang, you protect the people on Fingling's Hu and go first. We will go to meet the ones behind. Yang Zhao turned around after hearing this and found that Lin Zishang led Liu Shao and his team to meet the new reinforcement led by Sister Wu. The dozen people did not fly forward, but flew backwards directly at an accelerated speed, catching up with the 6 big beetles behind that had just turned around and flew backwards and surrounded them in the middle. The 6 were not to be outdone, and they formed a formation with golden light all over their bodies, controlling the big metal ball to resist stubbornly. Lin Zishang hit the tail of a large beetle with a hammer. The others were not to be outdone, and each took out their best tricks, trying to take down the 6 large beetles in a short time. Because the pursuers from the 2 teams behind were not far away, Lin Zishang wanted to create a time difference and make a quick decision. The 6 large beetles were not without a chance of winning. As long as they delayed a little time, they could surround Lin Zishang and his team. Both sides fought with real fire, spells and magic weapons flew together, and insect legs and iron balls danced together. Yang Zhao simply didn't fly herself. She stood on Feng Ling's Hu and looked back, estimating the distance between the two sides with the advantage of height. In less than a cup of tea, Yang Zhao found that the dozen large beetles in the middle were less than 100 meters away from Lin Zishang's battle group. Fellow Daoist Lin, don't be greedy for merit, retreat quickly. Go. Lin Zishang also listened to the advice. Hearing the words, he didn't doubt the truth at all, and directly ordered everyone to retreat. When they loosened the encirclement, only one of the 6 big beetles was left, still flying crookedly in the sky. Yang Zhao turned his head and looked forward, and the Yang Zhao Prefecture school garrison was already faintly visible. The garrison had already activated the formation, and the milky white light of the formation enveloped the entire garrison. It was so conspicuous even at a distance of several miles. There were still 4 or 5 people standing in front of the garrison. When they saw the brightly colored big bird, they pointed and talked. One of them turned around and went back to the garrison. In a moment, more than a dozen people came to the garrison again. The yellow-green big bird also saw the destination. It flapped its wings suddenly, and its already fast flying speed increased again. The people on the Fenglings who were exhausted and were pulled forward by the huge inertia. Yang Zhao flew up nervously, straightened them one by one, and pulled them to the middle, for fear that they would accidentally fall off. Then, the metal plate on the edge of the Fenglings who was erected to provide some cover. Seeing that they were less than half a mile away from the garrison, the big bird showed no sign of slowing down, so she could only discuss with it loudly. Brother bird, can we slow down a bit? There are people behind this, not objects, so you should be more careful. Brother bird, in the past, they might not care whether you slow down or not, but now if you don't slow down, they will easily become blood gourds. Yang Zhao kept nagging behind him, mainly because he was afraid that the big bird would suddenly stop, and the huge inertia would directly throw the people on the Fengling Pearl out. As a result, they might hit the metal plate on the edge of the Fengling Pearl that she had erected. But if the metal plate was not erected, they might become cannonballs flying out of the Fengling Pearl and hit the garrison. Although the light of the formation at the garrison was milky white, it didn't look dangerous. But Yang Zhao didn't want to use these people to test the power of the formation. The spiritual power of these people was exhausted, and no matter where they hit, they had no ability to protect themselves. These words were shouted very loudly, and it was unknown whether the big bird heard them or not, but the Wu junior sister who was chasing behind him must have heard them. Yao Feng, don't be naughty. Slow down. Li. Unexpectedly, Wu junior sister's words were quite effective. The big bird raised its head and called out, and the vibration amplitude of the decoration slowed down, and then slowly slowed down. Yang Zhao breathed a sigh of relief, looking at the garrison point that was getting bigger and bigger in front of him, and a sense of security rose. The closer it got to the garrison point, the slower the big bird's speed became. It leaned down and released the silk scarf in its claws. Yang Zhao held the edge of Feng Ling's Hu and controlled it to slowly land on the ground. When it stopped, the dozen people waiting at the entrance of the garrison point surrounded it. 2 people supported 1, or 3 people carried 1, and quickly transported the 8 people of Feng Ling's Hu into the garrison point. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244, Little Bean Chef, 2-in-1. Yang Zhao then noticed that only 4 of the people picked up were Foundation Establishment cultivators, and the others were key refining cultivators. Not long after she landed, Lin Zishang and her group also arrived. The big bird slowed down, but Lin Zishang and his group did not, so both sides arrived one after the other. There was no greeting. Wu Junior's sister put away the big bird, and Lin Zishang put away the pink scarf. The group quickly entered the garrison and closed the gate and the formation. Not long after, there were ping pong sounds outside, and all kinds of chirping foreign words came in. Ice JH. This sound was much louder than what you heard from outside. Yang Zhao estimated that perhaps, because there were 2 layers of planting land in the garrison, the air content was not at the same level as outside, so the sound was transmitted more smoothly. The main reason was that shouting a few words outside was too exhausting. Even if you use spiritual power as a guide, the other side can only hear 1/10 of the strength. The few people who were exhausted had long been helped to their respective rooms by the students of the key training stage. Those who needed medicine took medicine, and those who needed to sleep slept. Lin Sishang carried Yao Guangshu and led the others to the 2nd floor. Yang Zhao stuffed 2 fasting pills into his mouth and wanted to go up with them. Through the window on the 2nd floor, more than 20 large winged beetles could be seen outside. Because of the obstruction of the formation, they could not fly close and could only stay far away with golden light shields on and manipulated large metal balls to bang against the formation. But before they could hit it a few times, the protective formation changed and the positive and negative reflective film gradually turned from milky white to red. These more than 20 large beetles were also very smart. They noticed the change in the light of the formation, turned around and ran away without any nostalgia. Everyone watching the battle on the 2nd floor sighed with regret. The formation reacted slowly. If it had been a little faster, at least a few golden beetles could have been saved. There's nothing we can do about it. The time left for senior brother Lin was too short, and he wasn't familiar with the formation here, so he certainly wouldn't be able to use it as well as he wanted. Wait a few days and you'll see, senior brother Lin will definitely be at another level. Those golden beetles reacted very quickly too. The Sujin clan is indeed a veteran of battles, and they are not slow at all. They are more experienced than us anyway. We can't compare to them, but we had a great time fighting this battle, killing 11 golden beetles. So many? Not much, okay. We sent out 16 people, but only killed 11 golden beetles. Can you count? We clearly killed 13 golden beetles, and senior sister Lin even smashed the heads of 2 golden beetles in the formation set up by Yao Kishao. Oh, I didn't even know about this. I was running forward with my men at the time. Hehe, I was curious, so I looked back. So senior sister Lin killed the most golden beetles this time. Indeed, her killing power alone is great. The second one is Yang Zhao. Although she didn't hit the heads of the golden beetles, she specifically destroyed their wings. The 3 of us brothers and sisters cooperated and smashed the head of a golden beetle. Everyone was excitedly summarizing their gains this time, and their voices were getting louder and louder, with signs of getting more and more excited. Over there, Lin Sishang and Yao Guangshu whispered a few words and clapped their hands to attract everyone's attention. Okay, it turns out that the monks stationed at the garrison point continue to deploy the police. Other people who went to the battle, it's time to sleep and regulate your breathing. After you have slept enough and rested enough, we can study the next things. Let's disperse quickly. When everyone heard her words, their excitement was quickly suppressed, and they began to sigh one by one. I'm hungry, brothers. Does anyone have any snacks? No, how could I have such things? Then don't you have some food in your kayankan bag? Who would bring that? We cultivators only carry fasting pills. Ah, senior sister Lin, is there anyone here who prepared meals? You didn't take fasting pills again, did you? No way. I've been taking fasting pills for a few days, and I feel like there's a bird in my mouth. What do you mean by bird or no bird? Aren't you afraid that senior sister Wu's Yao Feng will hear you and fly out to fan you with his big wings? Oh, by the way, where is Yao Feng? There's not enough air outside, and Yao Feng couldn't bear flying such a long distance, so senior sister Wu took him to the planting field below. Yao Feng is really pitiful. He doesn't even have any life grass on him. Now when I see the grass in the planting field, I want to take a bite to taste it. I don't know if there are some vegetables and fruits that can be eaten or planted in the planting field. How could it be possible? The plantation provides the air that the garrison needs most, and we eat the food that was specially prepared for us by the garrison. Listening to the complaints of the people below, Lin Sishang pursed her lips in embarrassment. They had just experienced a war, and it was reasonable to say that it was the time to entertain the troops. Unfortunately, these cultivators, in a sense, are not worldly. Those who can be admitted to Yang Zhao Prefecture School have some family background. who would let the students cook for themselves. The very few poor families earn their own tuition fees or help their families with business, farming, etc., who would cook for themselves. Her eyes looked around and finally settled on Yang Zhao. At this time, Yang Zhao was watching the excitement on the second floor, listening to the complaints of these people, thinking about going to the plantation to find Sister Wu and see how the big bird was. Suddenly, she felt a little awkward, and when she raised her eyes, she saw Lin Zishang looking straight at her. "What's wrong with Brother Lin? Why are you looking at me like that?" Lin Zishang walked to her side and asked in a low voice, "Do you have any Kyanji beans that can cook?" I haven't asked about this, but there should be some. How about I go back and ask for you?" Because she heard that soldiers can basically cook. Lin Zishang was a little serious. "Then I'll trouble Brother Yang. The sooner these Kyanji beans are available, the better." Seeing that he agreed readily, Yang Zhao could only give him a shot in advance. "These Kyanji beans in my hand were prepared in advance. I haven't specially found people in the industry such as chefs. There are only a few kinds of food that can be cooked. You have to be more tolerant. It's better than what we make that can't be eaten." "Brother Yang, don't be modest." The two of them didn't talk behind people's backs. Those who hadn't gone down to rest had their ears perked up intentionally or unintentionally. When they heard that the two of them had decided on this matter, they stared at Yang Zhao with eager eyes. This made her feel a little embarrassed. "I'll go inside to change and wash, and I'll ask you about the Kyanji beans later." Now everyone else was beaming with joy. "Fellow Daoist Yang, I'll leave it to you." "Fellow Daoist Yang, I haven't even taken my Kigan pills yet. I'm just waiting for you. I have to tell the others. I guess those who have gotten up will also come out to eat a bite." Yang Zhao returned to the room, opened her backpack, and started to check her phone. She was in a hurry to go out for the battle this time, and her phone was not connected to the solar charger. After a long time of filming, her phone was out of power. While charging, Yang Zhao used the cleaning technique to clean her whole body. She put the life grass away, and the amulet turned into a veil, and took it back. After all this time, the phone was able to turn on. Yang Zhao contacted Guo Fu Minimum Kaiang. "Guo Fu Minimum Kaiang, chef. Do they still have appetites?" "Yang Zhao, when the Jade Emperor and Buddha invited guests, they ate dragon liver and phoenix marrow. And the fasting pills really have no taste." "Guo Fu Minimum Kaiang, well, do you have any requirements for the chef? With those Kyanji beans in your hand, you can only make stir-fried dishes and stewed meat at most. Don't even think about a state banquet." "Yang Zhao, just be able to cook normal meals. The quantity here is relatively large. Even though there are only more than 100 people, they are all gluttons. They can definitely eat as much as 5 people. Guo Fu Minimum Kaiang, this time, you pick people from the first few batches of Kyanji beans who went for experiments. Those people have stronger autonomy and can basically cook a meal." "Yang Zhao, I see. I'll put those in a small box separately." There was no way. As more and more Kyanji beans were recruited, Yang Zhao habitually classified them and put them into various boxes for convenience in the future. "Guo Fu Min Kiang, give me half an hour. I'll have them prepare and summon as many people as you want." "Yang Zhao, I think 30 people will be enough, right?" "Guo Fu Min Kiang, okay, that's it. Wait for me." The two sides agreed on a time. Yang Zhao set an alarm and exited the chat software. After this matter was confirmed, she began to look through the videos recorded on her phone today. Because she had been running around for the past few hours, the angle of the video recording this time was not very good. And because of the darkness, the pixels of the shooting were not very good. The biggest official in the world is actually the amulet on the body of the students of Yang Zhao Prefecture. But with the dim light, the huge beetle can still be clearly seen in the video. The shiny black beetle armor on their bodies and the dense fine hair on the beetle armor are particularly conspicuous under the reflection of various spells and magic tools. Because of the height of the backpack, the big beetles look even taller and more terrifying. Another thing with a more visual impact is the huge metal ball controlled by the Sujin clan. The scene of this thing rushing over is also shocking. What is more exciting is the collision of force between the monks and these things. From this point of view, this video is more explosive than the last time we went to the number 3 mine. Yang Zhao thought about it and decided to cut out this video first and put it online and put the video recorded at the number 3 mine later. She slightly edited the video, added dynamic and tense music, and forwarded it to the video platform with one click. She had just finished this thing when the alarm on her mobile phone rang. The time she and Guo Fumin Qiang agreed on was up. Yang Zhao came outside the house, found the specific box, and took out 30 or so traction beans to transfer mana. The next moment, more than 30 little bean people crowded in the corridor. These more than 30 little bean people were well disciplined. After coming out, they did not make any noise, and they lined up consciously. Yang Zhao squatted down and asked them, "It's not the first time we've come here. We all know the rules. There's nothing to do this time. It's just cooking. If anyone doesn't know how to do it, you can tell me directly. I've already made preparations in advance. You can tell me directly. It's nothing." These little bean people were silent for a while, and 2 of them stood up to ask, "Did you hear what Comrade Yang said? Any comrade who doesn't know how to cook, please raise your hand." After waiting for a while, no one raised their hands. Yang Zhao notified Lin Zishang on the messenger instrument. After getting an accurate answer, he led them to find someone. Lin Zishang was waiting for them in the lobby on the 1st floor. Seeing him with more than 30 little bean people, she also smiled. "Can these people cook?" "Basically, they can, but there is one thing I want to make clear to you in advance." Yang Zhao looked at Lin Zishang and his expression became serious. "This is the first time they cook here with our food, so you have to find 2 people to teach them how to handle the ingredients." "Lin Zishang, I know what you mean. Don't worry. I have prepared 3 people for you in advance. They will come to tell these little bean people what they can eat and what they can't eat." Finally, she led Yang Zhao and these little bean people to the kitchen. There were already 3 people in the kitchen pointing at the food on the chopping board. Chapter 245. Let's eat. Lin Zishang led the little bean man and introduced him to the 3 people. The 3 people were alchemists, and they mainly explained the processing of ingredients. For example, what parts can be eaten, and what parts should be discarded, what is better to boil in water, and what is best to stir fry. The 2 sides familiarized themselves with the kitchen. In the case of poor language communication between the 2 sides, both sides discovered a big problem at the same time. The height and body shape of the little bean man did not match this kitchen. Because this is a multi-person canteen, it mainly cooks big pot dishes, and all the kitchen utensils are characterized by a big word. The pot is big, the shovel is big, and the plate is big. I wish I could cook the meals of more than 100 people in one pot instead of 2 pots. The height of the little bean man is basically the same as a stove. That is, even if he stands on a bench, the little bean man will fall into the pot if he is not careful to keep his balance. There is still enough space for 4 or 5 little bean men in the pot. Compared with the little bean men, the cooking knives can be called absolute weapons, and the shovel is even taller than their height. But these difficulties are not a problem in Lin Zishang's eyes. She gathered people and designed a set of kitchen utensils for the little bean people on the spot, and then ordered a few people to use them. In less than an hour, the little bean people had prepared all the utensils. In her words, "I'm a weapon refiner. Can't I even do these pots and pans?" Then she found a monk who specialized in spells. This person did nothing else, but stayed in the kitchen to write levitation spells. The levitation spell can make people fly for a short time. Lin Zishang used this thing to make up for the problem of the little bean people's lack of height. So, a magical scene appeared in the kitchen. More than 30 little bean people flew in the air. From time to time, you can see that some little bean people can't control their flying speed and direction, and hit the wall or ceiling with a click. Fortunately, the initial speed provided by these levitation spells is not too fast. The little bean people got familiar with it for more than half an hour before they mastered the trick. Among them, the most dangerous people in levitation are those who hold knives and cook. Those who hold knives are in danger of others, and those who cook are in danger of themselves. After everything was ready, the little bean people began to actively prepare the first hot meal after the competition began. Some little bean people followed the monks to carry the ingredients. Some little bean people learned to make fire with the monks, and some little bean people learned to handle the ingredients with the monks. When the little bean people fell to the ground with a thud, they would automatically walk to the corner of the kitchen. There was a small table there, and a monk was writing a spell with a pen and ink. When he saw a little bean person coming, he slapped a floating spell on the back of the little bean person. The dwarf in the kitchen could fly again. The fact that they could fly by themselves made the little bean people very excited. The excitement was reflected in the fact that they worked very hard to cut vegetables and move things, and the kitchen knife chopped loudly. Some little bean people even thought about the problem of plating, finding a brightly colored vegetable and carving a radish flower. While working, these little bean people would accidentally sing at any time, causing a chorus. Everyone should remember the revolutionary tradition. We are soldiers. This power is iron. This power is steel. Biu 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 biu. Lin Zishang inspected the kitchen and came to praise Yang Zhao. It seems that this is a nation that is good at singing and dancing. Yang Zhao was recording with a mobile phone in his backpack. Facing Lin Zishang's praise, he could only smile awkwardly. After recording the video material for a while, she returned to her room, stuffed a pill into her mouth, and began to practice and regulate her breathing. This raid made her very tired, and she urgently needed to practice to buffer. After a practice, she was sweating profusely in pain. She lay on the bed and didn't want to move. She closed her eyes for a moment and fell asleep. After a while, a reminder sound came from the messenger, calling her to go down to eat. Yang Zhao smacked her lips, and finally her appetite overcame her sleepiness, and she struggled to get up. She glanced at her phone, and found that 2 hours had passed. It seems that the Xiao Dao people made a lot of food this time, and it would take so long for 30 people. But this is also normal. A cultivator can eat the food of 5 people. When more than 100 people have to prepare food for more than 600 people. When getting off the bed, Yang Zhao's legs were shaking. It took a long time to walk freely. In novels, people are so happy when they practice, as if they are in a fairyland, and they don't want to think about the mortal world. Is my practice in the past few months a bit inhumane? If I didn't have a grudge against my master, I would definitely think that he was deliberately retaliating against me. No, I have to give this thing to Yang Yun to try one day. It can be regarded as my sister's support for his practice. Yang Zhao muttered to herself while using a cleaning technique to clean the sweat stains on her body and changed her clothes. To be honest, if the recipes for the pills given by Shenroi were not a bit inhumane, Yang Zhao would have thought about using this thing to exchange for traffic. But it was too painful. She wanted to curse when she used it herself. She was afraid that if she gave this thing to others, they would regard her as an enemy after using it once and roll their eyes at her when they saw her. She sorted out her clothes while thinking about random things. It was inconvenient to do anything here. For example, she liked to take a bath every time after practicing, but there was not even a bathtub here. Although the cleaning technique cleaned it very well, taking a hot bath was to soothe her fragile and irritable body and mind after practicing. Maybe I can summon a big water ball, heat it with the fireball technique, and then let the water wrap me up. She felt that her method was very reliable and would try it after she came back from dinner. When Yang Zhao came to the cafeteria, it was already crowded. More than 100 students from Yang Zhao Prefecture School sat down excitedly around the table. Meals were already set on each table. It was just that there were not so many small plates for serving dishes in the garrison. They all used large iron plates that were more than 1 meter long and half a meter wide. There were 3 iron plates on a table, with various dishes piled up in them. The main theme was just one word: wild. Yao Guangshu and other exhausted people also recovered a little bit of spirit. Everyone showed a happy expression when they smelled the cafeteria full of the aroma of food. I can finally eat a hot meal. These past few days have been really hard for me. I heard that in ancient times, some people would practice in seclusion for more than a month or 2 and only relied on the grain saving pills to fill their stomachs during that time. It's just that the combination of these dishes is a bit. I heard that these dishes are made from Kyanji beans. The way they cook them is definitely different from ours, but they all smell delicious. We can taste the specialties of other worlds without leaving home. Chapter 246, Cooperation, 2 in 1. Perhaps no matter what era, no matter what time and space, when a group has a meal, there will always be a leader who speaks out. For example, now, when the Yang Zhao Prefecture School garrison had a meal, Yao Guangshu, as the leader, stood up and spoke out without any controversy. We encountered many accidents in this competition, which delayed us a lot of time. Whether it was the tentacles of the heart-eating beast that Lin Sheng's team encountered when they went to the number 3 mining site, or the unknown temptations of the Sujin clan, they all caused us a lot of trouble. But the students of our Yang Zhao Prefecture School are never afraid of these things. When we encountered the tentacles of the heart-eating beast, we destroyed it. Faced with the bad intentions of the Sujin clan, we took the initiative to attack and disrupted their plans. This time, we killed a total of 13 golden beetles at the cost of 0 casualties. That is to say, 13 foundation building cultivators in the Sujin clan's base opposite our garrison have been seriously injured. We won this battle beautifully, showing the dominance of our Yang Zhao Prefecture School. I think the examiners of this big exam will definitely applaud the performance of our Yang Zhao Prefecture School. To celebrate our victory, as you can see, starting today, the cafeteria in our garrison will provide 7 meals a day, 6 main meals, and 1 midnight snack. Anyone who wants to eat can come at any time. The road can't always be smooth sailing. If there are stones blocking the way ahead, just kick them away. As cultivators of our generation, we should not fear hardships and bravely climb up. I wish you all a broad road and longevity. The road is broad, and the immortals live long. The road is broad, and the immortals live long. Yao Guangshu's few words made the students in the cafeteria excited. Everyone shouted slogans together, wishing to go out and fight with the Sujin clan wandering outside. Yang Zhao didn't feel involved in what Yao Guangshu said. She seemed out of place in this passionate crowd, and she herself was a little embarrassed. However, no one picked up her when the crowd was angry. When Yao Guangshu finished speaking, no one else went up to give a speech. Yang Zhao was quite fortunate. She thought Lin Shang would also go up to say a few words. After all, her influence in Yang Zhao Prefecture is greater. But this result is undoubtedly liked by everyone. Everyone didn't hesitate and picked up their bowls and chopsticks to start eating. The most common dish in this meal is various meat dishes. Vegetables are a supporting role, and the staple food is relatively ordinary, just steamed yang mei rice. Even if a picky person eats protein powder and drinks glucose every day, he will be ecstatic if you give him a steamed bun. These cultivators are no exception. Everyone in the cafeteria has thrown away their own restraints and a pair of chopsticks swept the table. This tastes good. It tastes fresh. Yes, although there are no exquisite dishes and no high-end ingredients, but the taste is really good. I want to eat spiritual rice. Why is it steamed yang mei? How can you afford spiritual rice in the garrison in Luoyang? Now that you have rice to eat, you should be content. If there were no Kyang beans, then let's eat faster. The main thing is that, if you don't eat quickly, the other sisters and brothers will not give you half a face. Yang Zhao ate 7 bowls in a row before he felt 8/10 full. But when he looked up, the table was empty, and there was not much soup left. Although many people were full, big eaters like Yang Zhao still needed 2 bowls of rice. The 3 monks and the little beam people who were in charge of cooking were embarrassed because they had prepared as much rice as possible. Unexpectedly, the 3 monks had no experience in cooking, and the little beam people had never encountered such a big eater. Both sides were not prepared for this situation. When Yang Zhao put down his bowl and chopsticks, his sensitive hearing could hear the little beam people whispering in the noisy cafeteria. It was mainly because they spoke Chinese, which was too catchy in this environment full of alien languages. Are all of them gluttons? If this happened in the homes of ordinary people, even if there was one cultivator in the family, they would all go bankrupt. What are you talking about? Cultivators have a big appetite. We didn't prepare enough this time. We'll add a little more next time. That's right. At first I thought it was just Comrade Yang Zhao who ate a little more, but I didn't expect it to be a common phenomenon. People say that a teenager can eat me to death, but now this cultivator can eat 5 of them to death. Shut up. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll beat you back and turn your being great to save you from getting into trouble here. You have to know that cultivators have sensitive facial features. They can hear your tone. Once the bean turns grey, it can't be used. Captain, I will definitely shut up and never talk nonsense again. After dinner, Lin Shang arranged several teams of people to be on guard on the second floor. Those who have alchemy tasks should refine alchemy, those who have equipment tasks should refine equipment, and the plants in the planting field should not be neglected. Everyone should hurry up and finish these tasks first, so as to avoid the Sujin clan from causing trouble again and wasting our time. Yes, the students of Yang Zhao Prefecture School were very satisfied with the meal. Everyone walked out of the cafeteria together. The little bean people put on talismans and flew to the cafeteria office to clean up the dishes and chopsticks. The 3 monks in charge of the cafeteria used the cleaning technique to clean the dishes and tabletops. Afterwards, the 3 monks introduced the rules of the garrison to the little bean people, and after getting the assurance of the little bean people, they took a short vacation. After setting a time with the 3 monks, Yang Zhao took 30 chefs and little bean people to wander around the underground floors. Of course, she would not take the little bean people to sensitive places. For example, the core control room of the formation in the garrison. Of course, not only would she not take the little bean people there, but even Yang Zhao herself would not enter those sensitive places. If possible, she didn't even want to pass by. She was an outsider in the garrison, so it was better to stay away from the melon field. So it was most appropriate for Yang Zhao to take them to the planting field to have a look. Because there were many other little bean people working in the planting field. Although the 2 groups of little bean people didn't know each other, they were fellow villagers and had many topics to talk about. After introducing these little bean people, Yang Zhao strolled back to her room and locked the door. She couldn't bear it anymore and wanted to try her water ball bath in the room. After experimenting, except for the 2 problems, that the big water ball was difficult to summon due to dryness and the fireball technique was not well controlled, and the water ball was boiled, the rest of the effect was not bad. It was just that it was embarrassing to deal with the dirty water after taking a bath. Although she had used the cleaning technique herself, her body was not dirty. She had to use her spiritual power to hold the big water bowl out of the door, walk through the corridor, and go to the dressing room, so that there was a place to slowly put the big water bowl down. If it wasn't slow, she was afraid that the water would spill on the ground outside. Along the way, everyone they met cast curious glances at them, but only Liu Shao came over to ask a question. Why did you summon such a big water ball? The air in the garrison is quite dry. It's not easy to summon such a big water ball, right? Nothing. I'm leaving it for foot soaking. If you don't have anything else to do, I'll leave. Looking at Yang Zhao's back, Liu Shao muttered to himself behind her. Who uses so much water to wash their feet? It looks like it's still steaming. I guess this little girl went to take a bath and was embarrassed to tell me directly. Hey, this method is not bad. Senior Sister Lin has been very tired recently. It's also good to use this method to soak your feet. After taking a hot bath, Yang Zhao could finally have a comfortable sleep. She slept until dawn and then woke up. She got up and opened the messenger magic weapon to see if Lin Shang and Yao Guangshu had assigned her any tasks. She found that it was blank and her heart was relieved. Otherwise, if others had tasks but she didn't, she would always feel lazy. The first thing Yang Zhao did after leaving the dormitory was to go to the canteen to see if there was any food. As a result, while she was sleeping, the canteen had already opened for another meal. This time, the little bean people prepared a lot. When Yang Zhao arrived, she was afraid that the people who stayed in the canteen could bring her some food to fill her stomach. She was not picky about it and took the food and ate it for a long time. Maybe because she had no food to eat in the past few days and only ate fasting pills, she wanted to stuff 2 more bowls, even if she was full. After finishing the meal, she started from the underground floor and strolled up 1 floor at a time. When she met the little bean people, she would ask them about their work experience. If there is anything you can't stand, you can tell me, and I will help you communicate. If you really can't stay, you can go back on your own. No one can pick on you because of this. The little bean people laughed. What's so unbearable about this? This is my boss. It's Milner that the boss assigns me to run the machine. Even if my head is cut off and my blood is shed, you can't let me go back. Comrade Yang, don't worry, once the working hours are completed, we will go back to rest. These jobs will not bring any burden to our bodies. Seeing that their emotions were relatively high, Yang Zhao felt relieved. She was afraid that there would be some conflicts between the two sides, and then they would fight again on impulse. Sister Sun in the planting field saw her coming over and asked about the current situation of these little bean people one by one. She couldn't help but laugh and joked. Are you still afraid that I will beat them? Look at their cute figures. Anyone who touches them is not right. Seeing that the two sides get along well, Yang Zhao felt relieved. It was still daytime outside, and the Sujin clan didn't make any movement. The Yang Zhao Prefecture School Garrison Point used static to control dynamics, and hurried to complete its tasks. The busiest group was Lin Sheng's team, who had to inspect the combined formation of the entire garrison. They were busy inspecting the formation in the garrison with the little bean people hired by Yang Zhao when they were at the number 3 mining site. Seeing this, Yang Zhao went to find Yao Guangshu and Lin Sishang. Yao Guangshu was said to be still sleeping and regulating his breathing, but Lin Sishang was easier to find and could be found in the refining room on the ground floor. When she was found, she was refining, and some students in the key refining stage were coming in and out of the room with a group of little bean people to help her. Seeing that everyone was busy, Yang Zhao stood at the door and waited for a while. When Lin Sishang's work was finished, she went over. She was a little curious about Yang Zhao's arrival, put down the refining tools in her hand and asked, I wonder what fellow Daoist Yang wants to talk to me about. Yang Zhao told her the truth and told her about Zhongyan. I have an old friend in Chanzhou Prefecture School. They are also carrying out a mission at the number 3 mining site. Several of them want to enter the Sujin Pagoda. It just so happens that I can see the Sujin Pagoda, so he entrusted this matter to me. I want to ask what fellow Daoist Lin thinks about this matter. Lin Sishang summoned a water bowl to wash his hands and led Yang Zhao to a quiet place. You mean, while the Sujin people are wandering outside our garrison, let them come to us? Yang Zhao nodded. He thought about this matter carefully in his mind and felt that the plan could be passed. Because I heard from you that our Yang Zhao Prefecture School has not yet completed a mission at the number 3 mining site, which is to transport supplies from the number 3 mining site to our garrison. But because there are Sujin people wandering outside, it is not appropriate for us to split up our forces. They want to find the Sujin Pagoda, and it is just right for them to come here. I think you two can communicate well, and they will agree to this exchange condition. After all, one is to enter the Sujin Pagoda near the garrison, and the other is to leave the garrison and search deep in the enemy camp. It goes without saying which one is safer. Lin Sishang looked at Yang Zhao. Do you mean to ask them to help us transport the supplies when they come? Chapter 247, Internet Wonder. Yang Zhao did have this intention. In fact, she was a little over the line in organizing this matter. But she was really interested in Sujin Pagoda. If she went out alone and ignored the garrison of Yang Zhao Prefecture School, she would feel a little sorry for Feng Lingsu in her hand. But how to cooperate depends on your intention. If you agree, I can be a middleman to contact the other party. Lin Sishang pondered there for a while. This is indeed a very good solution, but I can't make the decision on this matter myself. I still have to ask Yao Guangshu's opinion. After all, he is the champion of Yang Zhao Prefecture School. Lin Sishang and Yao Guangshu have been in a state of consultation in this competition. Both sides have been avoiding conflicts between the two because of their status as champions, which would affect the competition of Yang Zhao Prefecture School. Yao Guangshu is still resting and regulating his breath. This matter can only be discussed after he wakes up. This is originally a matter of mutual consent. Yang Zhao just made a suggestion for his own safety. After getting the reply, Lin Sishang did not assign her any tasks. After all, there are many Xiao Dao people in the garrison, and some simple and mechanical tasks have been assigned. There was little need for Yang Zhao, so she was relaxed and strolled back to her room. Lying on the bed and opening her phone, Yang Zhao edited the video of the little bean man cooking, and then found the video of going to the number 3 mine that she had edited a few days ago. There was a video clip that looked the most supernatural in this video, which was Yang Zhao chanting a long spell to strike the open space with thunder. The reason why it struck the open space was because the mobile phone video could not capture the image of the heart-devouring beast's tentacles. But it still looked a bit visually effective, so Yang Zhao kept this clip. She connected the two videos together and posted them on the internet platform. Although her account was limited by the internet, her fans were still growing slowly, and she was heading towards 500,000 fans unswervingly. Her private messages were even more than 999. A lot of them came to become her apprentices, and they clearly stated their birth date, height, and weight. Another lot of them rushed to give money. They couldn't say 50,000 or 100,000, but they could say millions or tens of millions. There are also people who want to negotiate business with her, want to buy her portrait rights, name rights, and want to be her agent for other worldly goods. What makes people speechless is that there are many foreigners, or they trust the video much more than our people. When the locals shouted to download the anti-fraud app, they had already bowed their heads. The most important thing is that there are people who borrow money from Yang Zhao, borrowing Yang Zhao's money to buy other worldly things for themselves. This person promised that, as long as he sold these things, he would return the money to Yang Zhao, and at high interest, whether it is on the internet or in reality. She really met so many rich people, and it was also the first time she met so many foreigners, and the first time she met so many weird people. She cleared all the private messages, and then started to watch the comment area of the previous video to relieve her boredom. Fuck. What is this? Is the blogger starting to go for a horror style? Is anyone else as scared by such a big bug as I am? Me. When I saw a bugger this size, I got goosebumps all over my body. And how should I put this? Although I have seen magnified videos of insects like this in other popular science videos, but this is really a very explosive existence in the popular science circle. Am I the only one who likes the girl with the hammer? Girl, I'm 1.85 meters tall, weigh 145 kilograms, love to work out and take a bath, and I have a mild misophobia and love to tidy up things. Do you want to hit me with that hammer? There seems to be a strange thing upstairs. Girl, run away if you see someone like this. There are indeed more handsome men and beautiful women in the blogger's video, especially compared with that big beetle. No wonder many female stars in the entertainment industry like to act in horror movies. It really highlights their looks. I prefer the handsome guy who always hangs around Master Yang Zhao, but he talks a lot. Others fight with grunts, but he talks while fighting. The dozen or so large metal plates thrown by the blogger were so handsome when they circled and transformed in the sky. They had a sci-fi style, which was completely different from the Transformers. A third large bird that can carry people appeared in the video, and the color of its feathers was also very beautiful. Oh, cheered and jumped for joy. I just want to ask, if the two big fire nets at the back are real, then there can be lightning on my net. This scene is a bit too spectacular. I don't envy anything else, I just envy the fighting power of that young lady. She can really knock down a big beetle with one hammer. Compared with her, others are just supporting roles. Love you Muah. Blogger, I'm kneeling down at home right now and begging you to be my master, okay? I will really be a filial apprentice. Master, we have established a Yunayang Temple Immortal Cultivation team, and I'm the eldest senior brother recommended from it. Please accept my worship. Master Yang, I'm the one who steals the sky and changes the sun. Do you remember me? I have been there twice, and I'm very familiar with the rules there. Can I be included among these little beam people who are working there? I'm from the agricultural university and I will definitely not cause you any trouble. Oh, asterisk. Oh, wow. Look at it. This is the first travel follow-up I have found in the comment section. Can you tell me about your personal experience? Really, you can tell at a glance that you are a college student. You have a kind of unpretentious innocence and kindness. Are you short of money? Don't pity me. I want to buy you a big house. Oh, shit. The one above seems to be a BT. I suggest stay away from him. I'm a junior sister, and I'm also a white, rich and beautiful girl. I'm 1.67 meters tall and weigh 45 kilograms. Are you interested in dual cultivation? There are more and more perverts in this comment area, but according to the rhythm of the novel, Ad should be the senior brother of Yang Temple on the internet. Yang Zhao looked at these weirdos in the comment area and felt a little itchy. The video was originally a good discussion, but the style became strange because of the appearance of. She wanted to block a few fans, but she felt that it was not worth it because of these two sentences. After all, there was no real online troll who spoke ill of each other. It is not worth deleting fans because of a few jokes. It can only be said that there are many weirdos on the internet, because if you don't show your face on the internet, you can always release some of your nature. Chapter 248, Discussion, 2-in-1. A medical university. Li Chenggai silently looked at the document sent by the class teacher in the group. His mood was up and down, and he couldn't calm down. Because the document only notified one thing, that next Saturday, the school will hold an acupuncture test temporarily. All those who perform well in this test will be taken to a special place for professional training. Moreover, the document clearly pointed out that the special place is a national confidential unit, and you can get a golden body after entering it once. The class teacher emphasized this point in the group. This news made the group panic and uneasy, and many students' small groups were in turmoil. Although the acupuncture class was added abruptly, it has not been half a year since they started studying, and the style of their Western medicine exam in acupuncture is very strange. Although the scalpel and acupuncture require the same precision, holding a scalpel and holding a silver needle are still different. Li Chenggai silently watched the message in the school group become 99+. No matter what others think, he has been looking forward to this exam for a long time. This may be the step for him to contact the real world of cultivation. It was not watching videos on the internet, nor was it touching through the strange body of the Yang Zhao, but touching it with his own flesh. Although he was very excited about the interstellar travel, he knew clearly that the matter of cultivation was imminent, and he did not want to be just a tourist in another world. Open Yang Temple Cultivation First Group. The group was analyzing the new video released by the blogger, Yang Temple Yang Zhao. From the types of insects in it to the beautiful woman using a hammer, someone has built a detailed file for them. There are many such files, including characters, plants, spells, buildings, etc. And someone will update new content from time to time. Those people put the files in the group file for everyone to read, organize, and correct errors. Li Chenggai's habit is to download these things to his own special USB flash drive and follow the blogger's video to dig out information second by second. There may be many such groups on the internet, but their group is definitely the most loving and helpful one. Li Chenggai is one of the members of this group. Chenggai studies medicine. There are only a dozen people in the whole group, and only those few are relatively active. Chenggai is an active member of the medical school. Because he is a medical student, and the changes in the medical school are undoubtedly the biggest. Those who can join are powerful people with some skills, and the group owner does not plan to add more people. Their group also has several subgroups, Zeuxin War Propaganda Bureau. There are more people in these groups, and each group has 500 members. They are mainly responsible for overseas Zeuxin War propaganda tasks, and the funds for activities are provided by the rich boss in the group Zion Wangling. Li Chenggai looked through the messages in the group and found that the analysis of the video gradually turned into a struggle. The main target of the struggle was Yunayangwan Zeuxin Group No. 1 Koiti Xian Huanri. The reason was that he posted a comment admitting that he went on a trip under the new video of blogger Yunayangwan Yang Zhao. This comment caused a storm in the comment circle. Even though Tao Xian Huanri had just deleted the message, someone still took a screenshot. According to Tao Xian Huanri, his private messages are full, and he is now a little afraid that netizens will dox him online. Although everyone in the group was criticizing the young brother, they were also actively trying to help him. Li Cheng hesitated for a while. It was not good to disturb others, to give advice to the thief, so he put aside the news that he would go to training after the exam. The situation of the thief is now in danger. He took out the acupuncture bronze man from under the pillow. Perhaps he can take advantage of this opportunity to enter the immortal path. Luoyang Yang Zhao Prefecture School Garrison Point. Although many people on the internet came to Yang Zhao to become a disciple, she did not take it seriously. The reason was that she had not yet learned it clearly, so why should she accept an apprentice? Moreover, the master-disciple relationship of the Chinese is generally more complicated, and Yang Zhao does not have the intention of being an elder now. When it comes to the master-disciple relationship, she thought of Uncle Gongsun. A few months ago, in order to get the help of Uncle Gongsun when opening the meridians and starting the spirit, several people worshipped at the gate of Yunayang Temple. But she only heard the news and did not pay too much attention to what happened next. Now it is unknown what generation Yang Zhao is in with those people. If she directly worships Uncle Gongsun, then are they her peers or elders? Thinking about this, she burst out laughing. Putting these messy thoughts aside, Yang Zhao began to contact Zhang Yan through the spiritual transmission instrument. She told him what happened at Yanzhou Prefecture School. Zhang Yan replied very quickly. In other words, you have seen the Sujin Tower, right? Yang Zhao, yes, the Sujin Tower is very majestic, but it looks illusory. Zhang Yan, this thing carries a soul, and it does look illusory. At first, we wanted to go deep into the enemy camp to meet the Sujin clan, but we didn't expect you to meet them so soon. Zhang Yan, if we go to the garrison of Yanzhou Prefecture School, can you help us contact them as an intermediary? Yang Zhao, that's no problem. Then, Yang Zhao told him that the number 3 mining point mission at Yanzhou Prefecture School had not been completed. Zhang Yan, I understand what you mean, Daoist fellow Yang. Thank you for telling me this news. At this moment, the messenger sounded, and Lin Zishang came to meet her. When Yang Zhao found her, Yao Guangxiu and Lin Sheng were also there. She found a chair and sat down to join them. Seeing her sit down, Lin Sheng asked first, Dao Yang, why didn't you tell me about the cooperation with Chanzhou Prefecture School when you and I went to the number 3 mine site a few days ago? Don't you trust me? Lin Sheng, I didn't ask you to find fault with me. Everything is more important for the big competition. Lin Zishang glanced at her cheap brother. Lin Sheng snorted coldly and stopped talking. Turning around, Lin Zishang explained to Yang Zhao again. Fellow Daoist Yang, you don't have to listen to his nonsense. I asked him to come here because he has also been to the number 3 mining site and is familiar with the things there. Would you mind telling me in detail what you agreed to with the Chanzhou Prefecture School? Yang Zhao handed the chat record with Zhang Yan and the messenger to Lin Zishang. If you have the idea of cooperating, you can use my messenger to talk to each other so that I don't have to misinterpret the message as a middleman. Lin Zishang took the messenger, read the message between Yang Zhao and Zhang Yan, and finally handed it to Yao Guangxiu, who then handed it to Lin Sheng. After reading the message on the messenger, the three of them looked at each other and nodded slightly. Yao Guangxiu took the messenger returned by Lin Sheng and smiled at Yang Zhao. Then I'll have to trouble you, fellow Daoist Yang. I want to borrow your messenger. It's okay, you can use it. Yang Zhao took out a bagoo pill from his arms and put it in his mouth. Yao Guangxiu and the other three discussed with each other and used Yang Zhao's messenger to send a message to Zhang Yan. This discussion lasted for half an hour. Yang Zhao sat next to them with the bagoo pill in his mouth and listened to the general idea. Because the task of Chanzhou Prefecture School at the number 3 mine point has not been completed yet, Yanzhou Prefecture School will pass on a copy of the number 3 mine point array information collected by Lin Sheng and others a few days ago to Chanzhou Prefecture School to help them complete the task in time. In addition to helping them transport the goods at the number 3 mine point, Chanzhou Prefecture School will also cooperate with Yanzhou Prefecture School when they come to launch another raid on the Sujin clan who are wandering around the Yanzhou Prefecture School garrison. Yanzhou Prefecture School will also build a place similar to a prison cell outside the garrison. Because they finally decided to capture a golden beetle alive and then detain the golden beetle in the cell outside the garrison. This will add a big iron lock to the safety of exploring the Sujin pagoda. If something happens, they can hide in the garrison. The reason why they didn't bring the golden beetle into the garrison was because of the information security of the garrison. There are many strange ways to cultivate the truth, and they don't want to get caught in this. After everything was discussed, Lin Sheng sent the information about the formation of the number 3 mine that they had collected to Yang Zhao's messenger magic weapon, and then sent it to Zhong Yan using Yang Zhao's messenger magic weapon. The whole process was completed under Yang Zhao's eyes. It seems that neither of them had the intention to add friends separately. I say, fellow Daoist Yang, although our relationship was not very good at the beginning, we were also friends in need on the way to the number 3 mine. You don't have to hide this kind of thing from me in the future. Yang Zhao took the messenger magic weapon. I don't have this idea at all. It's fellow Daoist Lin, you think too much. Lin Sheng's eyes were suspicious, but he didn't say anything more. He said that he had something else to do and got up and left. Lin Sheng's personality was a little sensitive for some reason. When he was in charge, he was quite reliable. Whether it was making decisions or assigning tasks, he never sought personal interests. Once it was not his turn to be the boss, his temper would come out. If he did not like it, he would want to say something. Especially since Yang Zhao had told Lin Zishang about this matter first. Yao Guangshu and the others did not say much about Lin Shengxin's behavior of leaving the table. Fellow Daoist Yang, I will continue to trouble you. If there is anything else on the other side, you must inform us. Yang Zhao asked directly the doubts in his heart. This is not a big deal, but don't you to add a messenger magic weapon? No, we can directly contact the garrison of Chanzhou Prefecture School. My identity is more sensitive, so if there is something wrong with Chanzhou Prefecture School, they will not come to me in the future. Yang Zhao reacted for a while before he understood what it meant. The tradition of the competition is to hinder each other and trip each other up. Once Chanzhou Prefecture School went wrong, Zhong Yan's messenger magic weapon had the contact information of the leader of Yangzhou Prefecture School. This made Zhong Yan very suspicious. Chapter 249, Analysis of Magic. In the following days, Yang Zhao only accepted 2 garrison missions. One time, he followed Yao Guangshu to explore the enemy outside. During this period, they fought with the Sujin clan. Several people were injured on the Yangzhou Fuxu side, and 3 golden beetles were lost on the other side. This situation made Yao Guangshu very annoyed because the Sujin clan had no intention of retreating, so his mission to explore the enemy camp was difficult to complete. Because he didn't dare to take people away from the garrison of Yangzhou Fuxu for a long time and go far away. One time, he followed Lin Zishang and Lin Sheng to set up a prison formation outside the garrison. She was a bodyguard. As long as the Sujin clan approached to test, Yang Zhao and his team would drive these big beetles out. This time, the Sujin clan learned their lesson. They only observed from a distance and ran away without a trace as soon as they got close. On other days, Yang Zhao mainly practiced the 3 pure ones and the right Yang Sutra in the garrison. The rest of the time went to the 5th underground floor to experience a wave of wonderful illusions, or went to the training ground to learn from other foundation building monks. Although Yang Zhao had an absolute advantage in the competition of pure martial arts, in the competition of pure magic, most of the students of Yangzhou Prefecture School had the upper hand. Through constant exchanges and discussions with the students of Yangzhou Prefecture School, Yang Zhao's understanding of magic has become even better. There are many common combinations used by the other party, which Yang Zhao thinks are amazing, and practical little tricks. Gradually, she is more and more willing to stand by the training ground and watch others spar. She carried her shabby little backpack with her mobile phone in it, and turned on the recording function. Every day after watching, she would go back and re-watch the video recording to find more details. Every time she watched these videos, she would feel something new. She even packaged these videos and sent them to Guo Fuminqiang, asking them to help her make a detailed analysis of the magic. Now, Guo Fuminqiang basically has all the magic that Yang Zhao knows. After all, there are more people there, and the things they analyze must be more detailed than her alone, and they can find some obscure shining points. Guo Fuminqiang. As we delve deeper into the study of magic, the analysis of the magic will become more and more detailed. This is a long-term project. Yang Zhao, then you just need to send me a copy of the analysis of the magic every once in a while. I will also watch others practice magic every day these days to provide you with more analysis materials. Yang Zhao, I hope you can analyze these magics scientifically as soon as possible. It would be best if you can create a proprietary model to run on the computer and use the computer's advantages in information processing to promote the rapid development of magic and skills. Guo Fu Minimum Kayang. We both actually have the same opinion. We have organized a team of more than 2,000 people to conduct research in this area. We signed a mutual contract on magic research last time. Guo Fu Minimum Kayang. It's just that we don't have a suitable teacher in this area. Everything starts from scratch, and the progress is slow. Now I have a simple analysis of the magic and the key training period. Do you want to see it? Yang Zhao. Yes. Guo Fu Minimum Kayang didn't say much and sent her a large file package after a while. Yang Zhao opened it and found that it was all analysis and understanding of the spellbook she traded last time. That spellbook was a thank you gift from Zhang Yan's uncle Zhang Sheng. It contained simple spells that could be used in the key refining period. Just like now, Yang Zhao's most commonly used water ball spells, fireball spells, cleaning spells, and summoning spells are all from that spellbook. In this large file package, each spell is analyzed in a simple and detailed way. The reason for this contradiction is that Guo Fu Minimum Kayang has not yet entered the operating principles of spells and spiritual power, and many things are only the first level. In addition, due to the inertia of the Earth's spiritual energy, their research on spells is suppressed, and many input method conclusions are guesses by researchers. But even so, this large file package is very important to Yang Zhao, and it is difficult for one person to surpass a group of high quality talents. While studying this large file package, she applied the contents of the large file package to practice. In those days, everyone in the garrison of the entire Yang Zhao Prefecture school loved to discuss spells with Yang Zhao the most, because she always had many strange moves. In Oiyu Xiao's words, those moves are obviously those of an amateur in cultivation, but you have to admit that this amateur has superb wisdom. He can actually use wisdom to forcefully explain the magic. During those days, Yang Zhao's job was to conduct magic experiments while providing feedback to Guo Fu Min Qiang. Later, Guo Fu Min Qiang told her that her magic conjecture and practice in those days was equivalent to the hard work of the 2,000 people in the past 6 months. If it weren't for the suppression from the leadership, the 2,000 magic analysis team would have wanted to turn into little bean people and come here. When Yang Zhao was busy and happy, Zhang Yan contacted her through the messenger magic tool. We from Chanzhou Prefecture School are going to Yangzhou Prefecture School's garrison today, and we are also going with the mission materials from your garrison. Yang Zhao, have you just finished the mission at mine point number 3? Zhang Yan, that's right, we just finished transporting the materials, and then returned from our own garrison to mine point number 3 to get your materials. Zhang Yan, we don't have that many traction beans to help us at Chanzhou Prefecture School. I'm a Beastmaster monk. After completing my own tasks, I have to assist in running the formation. Yang Zhao, you should have said it earlier. You said earlier that these traction beans could be hired from me. Zhang Yan, you mean some of Yangzhou Prefecture School's traction beans came from you? Yang Zhao, not some, but all. This news was obviously beyond his expectations. After chatting with Zhang Yan for a while, Yang Zhao told Lin Zishang and Yao Guangshu the news. After discussing for a few words, the two of them decided that Yao Guangshu would stay at home, and Lin Zishang would take 15 foundation building cultivators and Yang Zhao to greet Zhang Yan and his group. This is equivalent to withdrawing all the foundation building cultivators from the entire garrison, leaving only 5 or 6 people to operate the garrison's protective formation to prevent enemy attacks. When leaving, Lin Zishang took out a small bottle that Yang Zhao was familiar with from his arms, opened the bottle cap, and black mist enveloped the bodies of these people. The group quietly left the garrison to greet the students of Chanzhou Prefecture School. Relying on the sharing of positions between the messenger instruments, Yang Zhao and his team received the people from Chanzhou Prefecture School an hour later. This time, 11 foundation building cultivators came to Chanzhou Prefecture School, and they were escorted by 20 camels. There is only one chapter today, and I have a big swelling on my gums, and it hurts my brain. If the medicine works, I will make up for the missing chapters tomorrow. Chapter 250, Victory Meeting, 2 in 1. Seeing the group of people from Yang Zhao Prefecture School, Yang Zhao and his team took the initiative to show up, and the two sides greeted each other and exchanged a few words. Yang Zhao came to Zhang Yan and asked, "Where is Brother Leopard?" Zhang Yan patted a small wine red bag hanging on his waist. "It's in the beast bag. It doesn't have the life grass. It's not convenient to stay outside." While Yang Zhao and Zhang Yan were chatting, Lin Sishang had already taken people to check the supplies pulled by the cart behind the 20 camels. The two sides stayed here for a while and then drove the camels to set off again. Each camel had a cage on its head and a small piece of metal was sewn on the cage. A small grass grew on the metal block, which was the life grass. These camels were not native to Luoyang. Facing the low gravity of Luoyang, they could withstand heavier weights than before. Moreover, they had been domesticated for a long time, and the rest of the camels automatically followed the leading camel, without wasting manpower. After all the supplies were checked, the people from Yang Zhao Prefecture School and Chan Zhao Prefecture School met together and continued their journey. The camel beasts were moving fast, and they were getting closer and closer to the garrison of Yang Zhao Prefecture School. Lin Sishang walked in front and whispered to everyone, "Because we attacked the Sujin clan a few days ago, the Sujin clan has gathered in one place now, and surveillance instruments are scattered around the garrison. These camel beasts are so noisy that the other side will definitely notice. Yang Zhao Prefecture School will engage in the battle later, and Chan Zhao Prefecture School will be tired to protect the camel beasts and walk quickly. Fellow Daoist Yang, please go with Chan Zhao Prefecture School." "Okay, no problem." After she finished her words, everyone agreed, and everyone in the group was alert. Some took out magic tools, some offered talismans, and some chanted spells. Their methods were complicated, and each had its own merits. Sure enough, everything was just as Lin Sishang expected. Not long after they took out their weapons, a large number of enemies swarmed in from a distance. Yang Zhao took a look and saw that there were about 20 big beetles. Lin Sishang waved the sledgehammer in his hand and shouted loudly, "Yan Zhao Fuxu, follow me." Yes. The 15 foundation building cultivators from Yang Zhao Fuxu followed Lin Sishang, speeding up and meeting the big beetles. Yang Zhao floated in the air, took out the finglings Hu from his arms, and threw it down. The finglings Hu grew in the wind, and then the decks dispersed, rotating in the air, to protect the front of the camel beast team. The people from Chan Zhao Fuxu each held a weapon, and surrounded the camel team on both sides. Zhang Yan came to the front of the camel team and patted the leading camel beast at the front of the team. The camel beast, like human nature, silently accelerated its speed, and the camel beasts behind also accelerated their pace. 1 step, 2 steps, slowly the camel beasts moved faster and faster. Yang Zhao flew in front with the Jiana long spear to lead the way, leading the camel beasts in a big bend, trying to avoid the battle group in the sky. The big beetles in the sky obviously also saw the camel beast team towing the cart below, which was originally besieging Lin Sishang with its numerical advantage. Seeing that these camel beasts did not retreat, but advanced faster and faster, they also guessed the plan here, and the large beetles on the periphery tended to disperse. Lin Sishang kept his eyes and ears on all sides, and noticed the movements of the Sujin clan, and shouted, "Stop them! Don't let them disturb the camel beasts." Yes, the students of Yang Zhao Prefecture School were not easy to mess with. Although they had fewer people than the other side, they used various means frequently and really trapped those people in the sky, and could not move. But although these large beetles could not move by themselves, the large metal balls they often carried with them broke through the restrictions of Yang Zhao Prefecture School, and gained a brief freedom. These metal balls were accompanied by the sound of whistling wind, and they bombarded this side from the distant sky one after another like cannonballs. When Yang Zhao saw this scene, he waved the spear in his hand, and went up with Fengling's Hu. "Fellow Daoist Zhang, don't worry about this side, please quickly lead the camel beasts forward. Fellow Daoist Yang, you should be careful," Zhang Yan said from a distance. Yang Zhao directly put the metal decks of Fengling's Hu together, to form a large slope, and blocked the 2 large metal balls in the front. Bang, bang. The 2 large metal balls knocked Fengling's Hu back more than 20 meters, and finally rolled to the ground, after losing its strength. Yang Zhao ignored the two, but swung the giant long spear in his hand and hit the side of the third large iron ball with a snap, knocking it out. The remaining ones were either blocked by Feng Lingsu or intercepted by Yang Zhao with the giant long spear. The big beetles became obviously agitated when they saw the scene here. They suddenly dropped down and wanted to leave the battle group of Yu Yun's Haofugsu. But Lin Zishang reacted quickly. They blocked the camel beast's side tightly and prevented a large beetle from rushing over. Feng Lingsu floated beside Yang Zhao, and he floated in the air with the giant long spear in his hand, blocking the big metal balls that had revived. While keeping a close eye on the camel beast team, she also paid attention to the battle group on the Yanzhou Prefecture school side. She had been silently calculating the attack range of the big metal ball of the Sujin clan in her mind. When the camel beast team completely left this attack range, her spiritual power suddenly circulated, and she tiptoed the big metal ball that hit her in front of her, and suddenly accelerated her flying speed, got rid of the entanglement of these big metal balls, and caught up with the camel beast team. After all, the people of Yanzhou Prefecture School over there were a few fewer than the big beetles. Gradually, the entire battle group was pressed by the big beetles, and moved towards the camel beast team. The speed of movement was not too fast. As time went on, when Yanzhou Prefecture School was unable to cope with it, 5 big beetles broke away from the battle group, flapped their wings, and went around the battle group to chase. Seeing this situation, only 2 people from Yanzhou Prefecture School were left to lead the team, to continue to move forward quickly, and the rest of the people flew into the sky and stopped the 5 big beetles with Yang Zhao. Slowly, the team was divided into 3 groups. In front was a fast-moving camel team. In the middle, Yang Zhao and Yanzhou Prefecture School were fighting against 5 large beetles, and the 5 large beetles were at a disadvantage. At the back, a dozen students from Yanzhou Prefecture School were fighting against a dozen large beetles. They were unable to defeat each other in a short period of time, and a stalemate broke out for a while. The 3 teams were moving towards the garrison of Yanzhou Prefecture School. The longer the delay, the more advantageous it would be for Yanzhou Prefecture School and Yanzhou Prefecture School. Even if the camel beasts were dragging a large cart of mineral materials, their speed was not slow. Moreover, Luoyuan was a place of hundreds of battles, and the camel beasts here had a strong adaptability to the battlefield. None of the camel beasts were frightened and ran away because of the fight behind. As Yang Zhao stabbed a large beetle's head with a gun, the victory of the second battle group had already stood on the side of Yanzhou Prefecture School. The Sujin clan was also very decisive. Seeing that they could not gain any advantage, the entire battle group was getting closer and closer to the garrison of Yanzhou Prefecture. A large beetle in the team screamed, and the rest of the large beetles began to retreat in an organized manner. Yang Zhao's small battle group, the 4 beetles, retreated as soon as they heard the sound. Yang Zhao and the people from Yanzhou Prefecture School did not dare to go too far away from the camel team, and they chased them for 2 steps and then stopped. As they retreated, some people from Yanzhou Prefecture School wanted to catch up and entangle them, not letting them go. But Lin Zishang stopped them. Don't chase. Our goal is the supplies behind the camel beast. Although the people from Yanzhou Prefecture School felt a little regretful, they also stopped. In fact, the condition of these people was not very good. Basically, everyone was injured, and several people were knocked to the ground by the large beetles, and could not get up. Now that the Sujin clan left, Lin Zishang organized people to carry the seriously injured people on their backs, and retreated in the direction of the camel beast. Even though the large beetles had already flown far away, the camel beasts did not dare to slow down. They continued to run for a cup of tea, and they saw the Yanzhou Prefecture School garrison from a distance. Only then did everyone relax. The camels slowed down, panting, and walked slowly. Lin Zishang and the others also flew to Yang Zhao's side with the wounded. As they got closer, the smell of blood on those people filled the air. Although these people were covered in blood, the excitement on their faces could not be concealed. We have been holding our breath for so long, and finally we have driven away these golden beetles, isn't it? In the past few days, they relied on their numbers to chase us. What about now? As long as the numbers are equal, they are not our opponents. Hehe, I also stabbed a golden beetle just now, but that thing was too hard. It can still fly after being stabbed. What should I do? My life grass was hit by a big beetle and it broke. This sound directly attracted everyone's attention, and others checked the life grass floating around them. Mine too. What should I do? What's going on? I didn't notice that my life grass was attacked just now. Why is it losing leaves now? My life grass cup is broken. Yang Zhao turned around and found that more than a dozen people were holding their life grasses in their cat heads and wailing. Lin Shang frowned frequently when he saw this situation. It seems that the Sujin clan did it on purpose. They pretended to want to raid the camel beasts, but their real target is a life grass. Don't panic. Let's check whether we can save these life grasses when we return to the garrison. Everyone had no good way now, so they could only fly carefully holding the cups of life grass. At this time, the gate of the garrison was opened, and students from Yang Zhao Prefecture School had already come out to greet them. When they arrived at the gate of the garrison, Yao Guangshu, as the leader of Yang Zhao Prefecture School, led the people from Zhao Prefecture School into the first floor hall. The key training period cultivators of Yang Zhao Prefecture School were divided into two teams. One team helped the wounded to enter the garrison to treat their injuries. The other team gathered the camels, unloaded the supplies on the car, and took them into the planting area. There is a special area for grazing camels in the planting field, where they grow their favorite food. In the hall on the first floor, Yao Guangshu first expressed his gratitude to Zhao Prefecture School for transporting supplies on behalf of Yang Zhao Prefecture School, and then invited them to the cafeteria for dinner. The people of Zhao Prefecture School laughed and shook their heads when they heard it. We have Bigu pills with us, so there is no need to give us another one. Yao Guangshu smiled modestly. You are honored guests. How can I give you Bigu pills? The people of Zhao Prefecture School looked puzzled, but did not refuse again. But they became excited when they smelled the fragrance of food outside the cafeteria. It smells like the fragrance of food. I smell it too. Zhang Yan came to Yang Zhao's side and asked excitedly, is there anyone in your Yang Zhao Prefecture School who can cook? Yang Zhao nodded to confirm her question. Yes, but didn't you just come back from the number 3 mine? You shouldn't be craving for food, right? Yes, but compared to the fasting pills, food is definitely more delicious. Zhang Yan gossiped with Yang Zhao with a smile. No one in our Zhao Prefecture School can cook. At the beginning, there were a few people who claimed that they could cook, but the food they cooked was either as black as coal or had a weird color. Anyway, no one dared to pick up their chopsticks. I didn't expect that there are cooking experts in Yang Zhao Prefecture School. The smell of this food is good. Yang Zhao smiled but said nothing. When they entered the cafeteria, they saw the little beam people floating in the air and serving food in the cafeteria. Now they have restored the previous rules and put a row of food in front like a university cafeteria. Whoever wants to eat something can tell the little bean people, and the little bean people will distribute food to them. It is said that this behavior has greatly trained the little bean people's oral ability. Many little bean people like to talk and chat with these students after serving food for 2 days. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.